too early. I can't believe it's time to get up already, but that's okay. A man's morning routine is everything. The first thing I do is I head to the washroom. My focus, brushing my teeth, my beard, and my skin. Tej Hanley, uncomplicated skincare for men, has changed my life. The face wash, the scrub, the super serum, the eye cream, the AM PM moisturizer has people giving me compliments left and right about my skin. At the beginning of each week, twice a week, I massage the scrub into my face and then I rinse. Every other day, I use the face wash. I put it into the palm of my hands and I spread it evenly across my entire face and my head. The Tej face wash keeps the pores clean and also removes all oil. My favorite part about Tej Hanley is that every box comes with an instruction card that tells you when to use each product, how much to use, and in what order. They really make the process of achieving and maintaining amazing skin easy. And because Tej Hanley is sponsoring today's video, they're offering my viewers a great deal. Just click the first link in the description, and not only will you get Tej Hanley for the best possible price, but they also give you a free gift with your first box. Click that link and get started today for just $30.
Here. Happy Sunday, y'all. Everybody
Happy
good?
Sunday.
Happy Sunday. What's going on, family?
First, I want to introduce the panelists. Start off with Layla, Paradise Paris, Mistaken, with the curls. Got the curls popping up. Cloud Jones in the building with the fresh shape up. Got Luis in the building. What's good, Luis? Yeah, that's crazy. What happened? And we got my man Hank in the basement. We kissed in the background. And we got Coach K. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I've missed you, Coach K.
I know, but MIA a little bit.
I know Coach K has been ignoring us for a while.
Already.
Coach K, I'm happy to see you on better terms. I'm glad we get to have a real thought-provoking session, and we dressed alike. We got the same color.
I know. I love it. I do.
Damn, so how y'all doing, man? How's y'all Sunday so far? I know you got up a
Doing
little
good.
earlier than normal.
Peaceful. Hey, Cloud. Hey, Luis. Good to see you.
Hey, Paris. How you doing?
Doing good. Happy Sunday, guys.
Happy Sunday.
What y'all
thank the Lord for another day.
Right on, Luis. Right on.
Any crazy weekend experiences y'all had, man? Any fights? Y'all saw Coco Gauff win that U.S. Open?
I did. Congratulations to her. She went hard. I'm proud of her.
What? Yeah. She smoked that girl, man. She definitely smoked that girl.
Going to see my good people tonight at tonight's conversation. Ricky Fontaine is a good person, a close friend of mine, and I'm looking forward to seeing Ace and Keita Nam again. And yeah, it's gonna be a good night tonight. I look forward to seeing those good people.
And what time is that? What time does that come on?
8. It's
o'clock
here in Dallas. Their show. I'm gonna show up a little bit earlier.
So they'll probably record it tonight and then release it at a later date.
That's
or is
possible.
it gonna be live? Okay.
This is live, but I'm sure that there will be filming content there. But more so for me, it was just important to go support because I've been a part of tonight's conversation before. So.
Okay. Yeah, I know they was in VA a few weeks ago. I got a homegirl in VA that she went to the event. She said it was good. All right, y'all ready to get into this? Y'all ready to get into the ain't gonna be no fist fighting. It's Lapeef-ing Sundays, so the energy is different. But we're gonna start off with this first topic, which is cooking and cleaning a wife's duty? Is cooking and cleaning a wife's duty? So I'm going to play this video, and then I'll get y'all thoughts on the back end.
I'm not gonna do wife things. Like, what's a wife thing? What's a wife quality? What do you think?
Ask you that. Yeah,
like,
actually, what constitutes those things?
Something as simple as cooking.
I actually don't think cooking is a wife duty.
Nope.
I don't think that's a wife duty.
There's
women I've dealt with in the past that weren't even my girlfriend that cooked for me. They just like cooking. But if you look at it as a burden, it's easy to say, I'm not doing wife things. Think about this, bro. Every time people say I don't do wife duties, it's always cooking, cleaning. Wife activity, that's how we communicate is wife, husband, like. That's what I'm looking at. The cooking, the cleaning.
We always talk about it here, that emotional intelligence. What's that like?
There's certain conversations that if we have, it's like, okay, I think that's a wife. Now, me personally, I don't think cooking and cleaning constitutes a wife. I know some of y'all do. Now, I feel like if you're someone who you cooking and cleaning as a strong determining factor if someone's a good wife, I feel like you got low standards. And if you're someone who thinks that you being able to cook and clean qualifies you automatically as a good wife, then I think you got low standards for yourself too. I'm sorry. Now,
all right. So the question is cooking and cleaning a wife's duty? I'm gonna start with Clout Jones and we'll go backwards. How you feel about that?
I understand the sentiment of what he's trying to say. So I wouldn't say I think it's good to be accurate wording. So I wouldn't say cooking and cleaning is a wife duty either, but I would say it's a homemaker duty. Like, so traditionally, wives were homemakers. And so that's why cooking and cleaning is associated with being a wife, because the homemaker role was the role that most wives were playing. But today, homemakers are less common. And today we have situations where sometimes the guy is the homemaker, sometimes the man is the one who stays home. And honestly, sometimes men are better at cooking than a lot of these women are. You know what I mean? Sometimes men are better at cleaning. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't necessarily say, especially not in modern times, that it's a wifely duty, but I would absolutely say it's a homemaker duty. So if a woman is planning on being a homemaker, or if like that's the position that she plays, then I would absolutely say she should be able to cook and clean. But other than that, you know, we live in different times.
All right. And Layla, I'm gonna come to you. Is cooking and cleaning a wife's duty? What are your thoughts?
I agree with Cloud. I don't think it's per se a wife's duty. Um, However, I do feel like if you are in a relationship, you're establishing a connection with someone, and for you, cooking and cleaning is a must. Don't partner up with someone that don't cook and don't clean, or doesn't want to cook or clean. I do feel like it is a homemaker's duty, but at the same time, if you have two people that aren't willing to cook and clean, then it's just a setup for failure. So I feel like it's qualities that would be admirable for some, but again, as Clout said, sometimes the man's cooking and cleaning, sometimes he does it more better in general than the woman, and likewise. So I think it really just comes down to the relationship.
All right. Luis, what are your thoughts?
Curious to know where people are at their life where they don't do these things already for themselves. Do they not clean for themselves? Do they not pick up after themselves before they find somebody and get in a relationship? Do they not cook for themselves, or do they do takeout every single night of every week, or are they doing hamburger helpers and TV dinners? Like, that's the part that sometimes makes me wonder. It's like, are we really having honest conversations, or are people talking off the side of their mouth? Look, I cook. I think I'm a pretty good cook. You know, my father's a really, really good cook. He learned from a very, very young age, considering he was the oldest out of many. And he cooks better than my mom. And my mom's a really good cook, but he just has way too much experience. He's worked in a number of restaurants. He's, when he was starting off, and it was just something that he was very passionate about. But I think that these are just life skills that we just transfer over into our relationship. You know what I'm saying? Just electing not to do something does not make you more adequate because you're trying to take in a particular type of role. What if your significant other fell ill or was injured and cannot do these types of duties? They can't cook for you, they can't clean for you, right? Because they are rendered helpless for a certain period of time. So now what are you going to do? Are you going to bring in an outside person? Are you going to bring an outside chef to cook and clean and do these other things? Laundry, let's not forget about that. Resetting the house. These are all just basic life skills that people need to be able to be adaptable. We're in a completely different time period, space and place nowadays in modernity, where people need to have basic life skills. You don't need to sew, you don't need to bake, but you do need to know how to prep and cook and make basic meals. You need to be able to take care of yourself and pick up after yourself, right? You know what I'm saying? Even especially before you get in a relationship, these are things that people should be able to see. And it's like you walk into their apartment and you see that it's sloppy. It's like, well, if you don't even take care of your space like this, how do you take care of your personal health, and other factors of your life? So these are just very basic life skills that people need to pick up. Hey, you.
All right. So on you, Coach K.
So, this is really interesting. I think you could take it many different ways. I don't think it's strictly a wife's duty in modern times. This is just a really oversimplistic way of looking at it. Not every household is gonna, have a stay-at-home wife. That might look different. Ultimately, it comes down to, I think, communicating and not losing sight of the big picture. You know, if you're in the workplace and something needs to get done, you know, and someone dropped the ball, you might step in. But just because it's not specifically under your job description, does that mean you're like, well, that's not my job? You know what I mean? This just seems kind of petty, I think, to say only a wife should be the one cleaning and cooking, especially if she's working too, which more often than not she is. But I think it comes down to communication. I think oftentimes females will say, you know, he doesn't help out around the house. Maybe you have, you know, high standards for how you want everything pristine. That's me. I'm very OCD with how I like my house, but that's why I like to clean. I love cleaning. I will say I think women are better at cleaning for the most part, but I don't think it matters at the end of the day as long as, you know, it's getting done. People just need to communicate and figure out what works for them. So that's all I have.
Mistaken.
I actually agree with what Coach K was saying. I do believe that it is a wife's duty to cook and clean if she is not working outside of her home, because then that is her contribution to the marriage. I tell that to my kids, like when we were out working, their contribution to the home when they got of a certain age, they were responsible for cooking and cleaning in the house. Just like we were when I was growing up, that became our responsibility as well. So if you can't financially contribute and you're home, then that becomes part of your responsibility. But I think if both wife and husband are both working, then I do believe that the task of cooking and cleaning has to be, you know, talked about in terms of what the setup is going to be, who's going to do what. You know, some people do it where whoever gets home first, they're the ones that may start the prep. And then the other one that comes in after, then they can do the dinner. Some split it up like, well, I'll cook on this day, and you cook on this day and this. So I think it does boil down to the communication of how you want your household to be ran. With the cleaning, like, I don't know, I just feel like if both people are taking part in making the dirt, then I think both people should take part in cleaning up after themselves. I definitely agree with Coach K that I think for the most part, my experience, the women are better at the cleaning. Like, I think men are good with straightening up. I think women are good with the cleaning. Definitely. So I'm more of, I'll let you straighten up to get the bulk of it, and then I'm gonna come behind you and do it right. Well, do the rest of it. Let me not say right. Do the rest of it. But yeah, that's it.
Hank, you hear this, man? You hear this? Women clean better than men. I don't like the sound of that, man.
In my life.
Well, look here. I don't give a damn if they. I hope they do, because me, I believe in gender roles, so I'm not cleaning shit. I'm not cooking. My woman's cooking and she's cleaning. I believe in gender roles. Now, with that being said, she doesn't lick a yard work. She doesn't do nothing outside. She does nothing fixing up around the house. I do it all. We bring in something, I got to put it together. I'm getting my tools, not her, me. So that's the trade-off. But I believe, but just me, I believe in gender roles. She don't have to worry about nothing, no repairs, no gas, none of that. She gonna go grocery shopping. I'm gonna get the stuff out the car. She gonna put it up. I'm gonna go back to watching football. But that's just me. Now, if y'all clean better than me, I hope y'all can, because I expect you to clean. You cook better than me, I hope you do. I expect you to cook. Now, when it comes to that grill, that's all me. You don't touch the grill.
We grilling every night.
You relax. You enjoy the moment. You enjoy the smoke. You enjoy the flavor. You enjoy you enjoy watching your man get down on the get down. But that's what it is.
But what if Like, what if something happens and all of a sudden she's unable, like an accident or something happens, she's unable to do
Come
those
on now.
things
Come on
anymore?
now. Come on now. You think I'm
Yeah,
a slave goddamn driver? You get up
uh,
off your
uh,
deathbed and go fix me a goddamn plate? Nah,
uh,
that ain't how he roll. Again, I may look demeaned, I may look demonstrative and all that, but I'm not a monster. I promise you I'm not.
I don't
If
think
she's
you look
sick,
like a monster, though.
you think I am. Okay, I got you.
I didn't
Look,
know.
if
I
she's
didn't
sick,
say that
if
either.
she's sick, if she's sick and she's not well and she can't do it, then he gonna come in there and take care of business. But as long as she well and upright in her right frame of mind, she gonna do what she need to do. I'm gonna do what I need to do, and we're gonna make this thing work.
I'm gonna go to Paris real quick, and then I'll come back to you, Clout. All right, it's on you, Paris.
I think we have a misconstrued idea of what's really happening in society because before men, were picking up war, things like that, they were actually doing the same thing. It's more men chefs than it is women. Men actually are very good at the skill, even the cleaning. I think a lot of times women overextend themselves, so we get conditioned to seeing things one way. Because I've been around men, and I swear some of the cleanest men you will ever meet are locked up in jail. I'm talking about literally scrub, clean, sparking. It really just depends. I do not believe cooking and cleaning is a wife duty. I believe that that's something that a individual does, and I do not believe that there should be a conversation about who's going to do the cooking and cleaning because in reality, people do things around each other. Most times, the conversation goes, what do you want to eat? I feel like having this tonight. And then it leads into something else. It's not, I'm going to get in the kitchen and cook this, and I'm going to get in the kitchen and cook that, and you go pick up the kids. It's like, no, this is my schedule. I'll get off at this time. I'll go pick up the kids at this time. Or they already know those things, right? Like it's already something that you fall into as program. It's not us sitting down being robots. It's very natural. It's very organic. And it happens, right? The same way I know that there are some women their cars are terrible looking. Their bathrooms look a mess. And then they ask men to go and intercept into that. But the issue is, right, you're asking to be a wife, but you're hesitant about cooking and cleaning, something that adults should already be doing, an adaptable skill. And I've said this once before, when women had to get up and go into the workforce, men had to pick up those adaptative skills. Marriage rates decline. People stopped being they stopped cohabitating. The need for it subsided completely. A lot of individualistic things came about. Cooking and cleaning is a bare minimal skill set to the point where you really don't even need it anymore. The reason why cleaning. The reason why people needed cooking was because most people were growing their own foods. They bargained, they used their community as far as how to even get food, and they share things amongst each other through bartering. Now, there are restaurants, bro. Like there's DoorDash, there's Lyft, there's all these other things. You can literally order your groceries and get them delivered, and the only thing you have to do is bring them in the house. So we talk about all these other things, right? But the evolution of people has occurred. Cooking and cleaning is not what's going to make you a wife. The hesitancy about when a man asks you, do you have that skill, because it's something that they would like to admire or something that they would like to wager in seeing what they would get out of their partner. That's where the issue is. It's not if she can cook, if she can clean, because a lot of you women cannot cook at all. Like the food is terrible, it's very rushed. If it's not Alfredo and if it's not a seafood boil, some quick and fast, the rice need a rice cooker. You can't even do it on a pot. I come from the country. I can literally make homemade dressing where women are pulling it out the box. So, it's like we talk about these things, but at the nick and cranny of it, what we really should be discussing is okay, if she doesn't cook if she doesn't cook, right? That can be supplemented. The cleaning definitely needs to be addressed because you can't have two people in the house picking up bad behaviors about hygiene and things like that. Your home is your safe haven, all hands on deck. But women always try to weaponize, I go to work. Okay, and he also goes to work and he had a house before you showed up. So what makes you think that he can't do these things? Weren't you spending time with him at his house before you even got into a relationship with him? Or when you guys got into a relationship before you moved in together, did you not see these things in advance that he was not as clean as he may have should been while you're discussing whether or not he cleans? He should also be able to see the same thing, unless you guys are showing him with your representative for 2 and 3 years. Like unless you're not getting comfortable for 2 and 3 years, what we really need to be discussing is, okay, cooking and cleaning aside, when it's time for you to pick up majority of the slack, are you going to be able to do that and not feel the pressure to leave? That should have been the question about determining wifehood.
All right. Clout, you wanted to touch on? Oh, okay. I was going to ask you.
I want to say that. I'm sorry. You talking to me?
No.
Yeah, I wanted to say, first off, like everything, mostly everyone said, like what Paris said, I completely agree with. I want to stick with what I originally said, right? But something Hink said made me think. Like something Coach K said and something Hink said made me think, because Hink's position was very like, well, not drastic, but it was very stark. It was just like, okay, well, I'm expecting you to cook, right? And I found that very interesting, because I noticed that when Coach K mentioned these duties, the duties, the wifely duties and subject, there was like this pushback to be like, well, both people should be able to do those things, right? But I noticed that when Hink brought up certain things, like he brought up like the lawnmower or like the grilling, right? Like I noticed that when it comes to those tasks, like we never have a argument over who's supposed to do those. Like, so when it comes to the cooking and cleaning, when it comes to like the maintenance of the things that we both use in that way, that are traditionally tasks for the woman, it's always tasks that we all need to know, right? We should all know how to cook and clean. We all need to, and I do agree with that to a degree, right? But then when it comes to the specialized things that men do, like the lawn mowing, the lifting the concrete bags, the opening the jar, the reaching the thing,
cleaning the gutters, cleaning the garage, keeping the yard up.
We never say, when it comes to those things, well,
don't forget
ladies,
the oil change.
you need to learn how to do an oil change, ladies. You need to learn how to reach the thing on the top of the counter. You need to learn how to open jars. Like, we don't do that.
Cloud, let me tell you this. Ain't nobody fighting me for that. Ain't nobody fighting me to get to that weed eater. Nobody.
I will.
You're fighting to get to the weed. I know, that's right.
Can I just bring up just this little caveat?
You're more than welcome.
I just want to bring up.
I definitely appreciate Hink's position on it, because it made me think of that. But
I agree if that's what most men are doing, right? If that's the trade-off. Just in my experience, just in my experience, and like I said, I know I'm looking at it from maybe a minimal view, because I'm saying my experience, that most men that I know outsource those responsibilities. So they have the money to pay for a guy to maintain the lawnmower. They pay for somebody to come clean the gutters. So in that regard,
you super bougie.
So for me, in that regard, if the expectation, like what Hank established, like, well, I'm out there mowing the lawn, I'm cleaning the gutters, I'm doing this and that. I do think that that's a considerable expectation to have his wife do some of those other things where he's not participating in, because he's taking care of the other stuff. However, if you have the means and you're outsourcing those responsibilities, but yet you're not putting any money to outsource, like having a maid come and clean the house or whatever, to offset some of the responsibilities on the other person, I think that, that leaves room for where can you assist. So since that is taken off your plate, how can you assist in the home?
Well, the thing is, right, is denouncing the fact that men are still doing it, even with the convenience. Because the idea is we're not going to argue about who pays the mortgage. We're not going to argue about who pays majority of the bills. We're not going to argue
if both of y'all are working, aren't both of y'all contributing to the financial resources that are going in the house?
But the bigger bills are typically their responsibility. And I hate to even champion for men to try to denounce what women do or what's the importance, because I live alone. But the idea is a lot of times all of this is under the man's purview, right? So even for them, when they're able to go into the workforce industry, men on average work anywhere from 12 to 16-hour shifts. They work longer than us. We're typically able to come home sooner. Women typically take off more PTO. Women typically utilize their resources from work more sooner, and they're typically utilizing time in home more. Men typically have outside jobs. Women typically have inside jobs. Women typically work from home more than men. So with all of these things, you're there at the home front. Now, if you haven't suggested another person coming into your home to help clean and be a maid, then that's one thing. The real truth is, though, a lot of women don't want another woman in their home, maid or not. So even with arguing this point, it's the ego. You don't want another woman in your home. You don't want another woman in your kitchen. But the moment that he outsourced a lawn service, you still didn't get your ass up and go outside and cut the grass anyways. So why does it matter?
But Paris, can you also point out the statistic that you're talking about when men making typically working 12 to 16 more hours than women? No. What I'm saying is that when you look at the other end of that is typically like what we're talking about, that the additional 12 to 16 hours that men are working outside the home, women are taking off more and doing those things because it's the expectation that they are taking care of the kids. So they're coming home to a whole nother job that is expected of them. And rightfully so. I do think that women play an important role in managing their children in a household. But when you're saying they're spending this time, they are able to do so because we're taking care of the home front. So those hours are being.
I talked about this in the pre-show, but I guess it's no difference.
No, those 12 to 16 hours are just being shared in a different way, because the stats show that women are putting in more hours with the family aspect, with the children doing homework. So it's just shifted. That's
always been that way. My thing is, though, the argument of him outsourcing the conveniences, a man is still doing it, right? What's not happening is women are not saying, okay, it's Saturday, you stay in the house and you go clean this shit up. I'm gonna go outside and I'm gonna cut the grass. There's very few women who do that. I'm from the country. I learned how to cut grass. I know how. But the thing is, that's not what most women are saying. Even when you're talking about maid services, most women are only asking for maid services in the event that they actually have the disposable income and they are actually a stay-at-home mom. That's when they're actually asking for it. That's when they're asking for the additional assistance, typically when the children are small age, before they even get to school. That's the typical phenomenon. So I'm speaking in a generalized manner. We know that there are anomalies, but overall, the majority is in these scenarios that I'm speaking to. Also, what we do not see is women actually wanting other women to come into their home. The ego of having someone else come around to say she can go in the kitchen and she can cook, or getting a mail maid, he can come. You're typically outsourcing chefs for special events, your birthdays, your anniversaries. That's when you want a chef to come in. You're not asking for a chef every day of the week. You're not asking for a nutritionist. These conversations are not even coming up as far as a maid. Most times women will say, I do not want another woman in my house. So while you're sitting here and there is another guy who's up the street who came and cut the grass, and your husband just paid him $75 to do it, you're sitting in the house, kick your feet up, you chilling, the kids ain't even up, it's a Saturday, nobody's doing anything, and you just ordered the groceries, you waiting on them to get delivered from DoorDash. That is the reality of today.
I don't think
so.
All right, Hank, Clout, and then we're going to move next topic.
No, Hank, go ahead.
Okay. What I was gonna say is, man, look, not everybody, like what Paris talking about. Everybody can afford to have these things. Now, mistake I know is you got family and friends and loved ones and yourself can afford to do that. Not everybody has that luxury. They don't. So you got to get out there and clean your own baseboards, your own ceiling fans, and make sure you mop and clean that bathroom thoroughly. You have to do it yourself. And your toilets, you have to do it all yourself. So in my dynamic, I'm not doing that shit. The lady of the home is. She's doing it. But like I said, you're not going to fight me to go cut yard. You're not going to fight me to go out there and pull weeds, put down weed killer. You're not fighting me to go to Home Depot and get this shit, the weed eating string, and winding it up. You're not fighting me for none of that. You don't want to go out there and sweat. Period.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm barely getting you to work out. Like go out there and sweat and do some goddamn yard work. You mess around, poke your hand in the rose bushes or something like it. Most ladies are not doing that. And for the record, they're not getting lawn services either. I mean, it's $60 now. My buddy got a lawn service. He's charging $60 for your yard. And if your yard is bigger than a half an acre, he's going up. You gonna do it every week, every other week? Nah, most people ain't doing that. Not 2023. Just can't afford to do it.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. I said I recognize that I'm speaking from my circle, from that people that I'm aware of.
Your bougie friends, I got you, Mr.
Is not. But when I look at what stuff is being outsourced, I'm gonna be honest, it's typically the outside stuff. So, from my experience, again. From my experience, the outsourced stuff that occurs outside of the home is typically cheaper, less expensive to pay for than the stuff that occurs inside the home. So I think when people are budgeting, those are things that can get off the plate because of the cost amount of it. But keeping it real, for most people that I know who are married, is not honestly specific gender roles. They're saying, I expect you to cook and clean. You're going to cut the yard. You're going to do X, Y, and Z. They work together to just get shit done. So whether it's I cook today or whatever, just because I know you got home from work.
Cut that grass.
Because listen, I do. I'm outside with my husband when he's doing outside work. Just like when we're inside, he may help with the laundry. He helps with the laundry, and sometimes he cooks. So it's just whatever that needs to be done. And I think most people who are married function in that mindset of working together to just get stuff done. It's not a specific guideline as to you do this, I do this. So like when Paris had made the point about not having the conversation, and you just organically know what you need to do. I think that for some people, I think that works, but I think for most people it's important to have those conversations, because when you don't have those conversations, it leaves room up for interpretation or expectations that some people may have different expectations versus others. So you want to make sure that you clarify certain things. So a woman that's dealing with you have the expectation, no, I expect that you are going to cook and clean because I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. It's important to have that conversation, because if I'm a woman that I may know how to cook and I may know how to clean, but I'm coming in a mindset that whatever needs to be done, we're going to work on it together, but that's not your expectation. So it's important that we communicate that.
If the average woman,
hold on, Hank.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me get
like the interesting thing about that is like even still like we jump to these outsourceable tasks, right? When I even initially talked about this, I wasn't even talking about outsourceable tasks. I was literally talking about little things like, for example, putting air in the tires. Ladies on the panel, when the last time you put air in some tires? When the last time you got down on your knee and you got a man in your life?
Oil change. I literally just did my own oil change yesterday. So
that's what I'm saying. My dad was one who taught us these things just in case if you have a man, if the man's not around and you have to take care of it, he wanted to give us skills in order to do that.
Okay, so here's the thing. For me, I'll be honest. If I were not with my man, I would probably have to do it by myself because I live alone. Even then, I've learned, no, I can just go to Discount Tire. They'll do it for free. I found other ways to be more reliant, work smarter, not harder. But Wednesday, my car was messed up. He called somebody to fix my car for me. I don't have to do those things. I don't have to think about them. They're second nature because he takes care of them for me. All I do is tell him what the problem is, and he go and resolve it.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
part of the gender roles I'm talking about. You don't have to stress about that. Like I said in a speech, I'm the one fixing shit. So even if I can't do it personally, I'm the one making a call. You ain't got to worry about it. Only thing you got to worry about is letting me know. And I'm taking care of the rest. You ain't got to worry about how much it costs. You ain't got to worry about how long it's going to take. Don't worry about that. You take my car until it gets fixed. And once it's done, we good. You ain't got to worry about that. You just worry about keeping me my belly full, my sack empty, and this house clean, and we good.
So I'm curious. Are the ladies on the panel saying essentially that when they have a man in their life, they're saying that them and their man equally share the lawn duties and the changing of the tires and the putting air in the tires, and they equally bring the groceries in the house, and they equally carry cement bags around, and they equally get on their knees and dig whatever need to be did, and they equally dealing with the plumbing and all. Is that what y'all telling me?
No, and I don't.
I think I'm an exception to the rule, is all I can say. Because
it depends on the couple.
Yeah, I'm an exception. I know most women, so I can't say most women. I know for me in my house, I'm the one that typically does the fixing, only because that's stuff that I enjoy doing. My dad taught us certain things and I took a liking to it. And so I enjoy doing those things. Like I lay tile, I do floor tile, I do backsplash. I just remodeled I'm still working on it. My laundry room. Those are just things that I enjoy doing.
Right.
So
you are an exception.
So that's what I said. I know I'm an exception.
Right,
I know that's not general.
That's like a craft.
You said most of your friends outsource shit. You think your bougie friends can do all that shit? What you just said as a woman?
No, I said no. I said that.
Right.
I said that. I said that. I know. I know. I'm different in that regard.
And I'm sure they be asking you, like, girl, can you come over and do my tiles too?
I'll tell them how to do it though.
Can I add though? Now there probably are rare, exceptions where women will, like I said, I love cut the grass, I love do yard work, but women are not they're not cleaning out the gutters, they're not carrying cement bags, but that's because we can't. Well, some women can for sure. I'm talking about men though. Men are men for a reason, and we appreciate you, and that's why I'm willing to do whatever I have to do in the house to make your life easier, because I know you're working those longer hours. You have more stress on your back than that I'm carrying. So that's why I don't really look at it like you're not helping enough in the house or whatever. No, I don't look at it like that. Like I'm going to do whatever I can to make the house function and also make your life easier. And I'm fine with gender roles. Those don't bug me.
I will also say that I have a broken wrist mentality. So for me, it's this expectation. Like I remember when I first moved into my apartment, he saw me carrying like 3 or 4 bags. He grabbed majority of them. I think I just carried my purse into the house. I have a very much so broken wrist mentality. I don't grab doors. I like the most minuscule thing that I can think about, he does, and it's literally second nature. Even down to lifting, what it don't matter, right? Like I'm calling maintenance for majority of this stuff because I live in an apartment. I'm not finna make my man work extra harder to come and do something that maintenance can do. But when I bought a new bed, he came and put it together. It was just like second nature.
You see, I would love to do that. I wouldn't even ask for help because I just enjoy doing that.
But not only did he put it together, he made the bed afterwards. We did that together. But I will say, when we're talking about yard work, something that women used to do that we don't do anymore, we used to garden. We used to plant things. That's not a commonality for women anymore. So a lot of us are not even homeowners. And that's not a specific demographic. That's just in general. A lot of us are not homeowners. A lot of us do reside in apartment complexes. And because of that fact, when we do get into the home, that's not a lot of women nowadays to get into horticulture. A lot of women don't even care for plants. They don't care for flowers, the idea that we used to. But furthermore, again, a lot of us don't have to get up and go to the grocery store. Where we were sitting there making complaints about, I sent him to the store, he got the wrong thing. A lot of times there is Instacart, there is Walmart online. There's Target pickup where you can literally just pull up, sit in your car, and the first 5 slots is waiting for an associate to come out and pack up your car for you. So convenience is being given in multiple ways. We're only talking about the little small things. There are literally some HOA services here in Texas. They provide you with the lawn care service that everybody uses, because if you don't keep up your yard, these people will come and you'll be sent the bill. It's literally what it is. So we're talking about nuanced things in regards to what's happening in the house. But I'm going to say this, and I'm going to end it on this. If your man not washing his ass or picking up behind himself, you should have known that before you said, I do. That's a you problem.
All right, y'all. Moving on to the next topic. I mean, I guess everybody does what works for them in their particular situation. You know.
Also, you know what? One thing we didn't take into consideration, you know, everybody said a lot of good things. You know, people work allotted work schedules. Not everybody works a 9 to 5 schedule. I think a lot of these conversations are basically circled around the middle ground of most typical, you know, 9 to 5 people. There's people who work like 3 to 11, you know, 6 to the graveyard shift, right? And all over the place. There's people who work part-time here and then a full-time over there, right? Like, I think there's a lot of nuances and details that we haven't really covered. And I think that also plays a huge factor, because while you may work at home and someone else works somewhere that might be an hour commute away, do you expect that person to come home after 2 hours of commute each day, 5 days a week, to pick up and do things that you would normally have done if you were home, you know, and you don't have that time? So that person has about 10 hours a week taken away from him due to commute, but yet you have 10 hours in the week that you could contribute in many small factors that offsets that time of that person not being there, right? So I think, you know, those kind of considerations are things that people need to also navigate through.
That's true. You're on mute, Jay.
Thank you, mistaken.
You're welcome.
All right, so we're gonna get to the next topic, which is how men trigger women. I got a quick video to show y'all, and then we'll get into the discussion.
Suggest take your time, even if you feel like you got the best possible response. There's so much information. Please go take 5-10 minutes, an hour, and just sit with it.
Sometimes it's like, nah, let's talk about it now.
Right.
But then we have to recognize what version of you just said, nah, let's talk about it now. Is it the one that's like, nope, because I already got this point and this point? You've already tallied the points, the scores in your head about how you are about to diminish those points that your partner just had. That's the one that's ready to rush into the conversation.
Like somebody say something slick to you in battle rap, even still in the midst of their verse, if you are a good rebuttaler, you are already thinking of your response and how you could flip what they said. I know a lot of people could probably relate to this, especially probably a lot of men. As y'all are indicating what you would like us to do better or different, a lot of times we perceive that as we are not enough, especially when I hear my wife is hurt based on something I did. It's not a matter of me wanting to dismantle what you said, but I'm kind of navigating through this also for myself, like, yo, I just hurt my wife. Like, that don't make me feel good. So before you even complete your thought and lay out what you need to lay out, I'm already doing rebuttals. So I'm not even fully 100% hearing everything, the energy, the emotion underneath what you're trying to say, because I'm already kind of picking apart the argument in my head. Indicate to your partner, don't do rebuttals right now, right? Really listen to me. A lot of times we kind of trying to do both at the same time.
All right. And how do men trigger women? I'm going to start with you, Coach K. What are some ways, and what do you feel about what he was explaining?
Sorry. I don't know.
Y'all want me to run it back one more time?
I mean, it was kind of long. I mean, it's up to you, but I'm trying to get my thoughts together. And my cat just jumped in front of my face, and that just lost my train of thought.
It's cool. I'll come back to you. I go to you, Paris.
Men trigger women when they are dismissive of us, of the things that we say, when they use our emotions as a way of being tactical and saying, oh, well, this is the reason why you're doing that, you're doing too much. It's a lot of the verbiage, but most of the time it's in the nonchalant, dismissive demeanor, right? And when you're talking about an argument and you're talking about how men behave in an argument versus how women behave, typically what we see, right, is the men typically want to leave. However, women want to address it right there in the moment. And then they act as if we're doing too much when they come back and pretend everything's okay and they've calmed down and they've actually wanted to utilize sex as a weapon to, dismiss the problem, or they typically try to make it seem like we're doing too much when we still want to address the problem. That's how they trigger us. They don't really understand a lot of times, not necessarily in the moment, right? But if you're addressing the issue and you're really hearing me out as opposed to trying to attack me, and you're actually guiding the conversation to say, hey, listen, you can say this without belittling, dehumanizing, which women should know this. Women should know this. But if men were to say, you can address this without raising your voice, dehumanizing, or belittling, or attempting to emasculate me, I'm willing to hear you out. A lot of these conversations wouldn't even be about a trigger at all, because a lot of the times women are just pushing it to the back of their mind and waiting on the opportunity for that tally mark to come out.
If you had to put a percentage on it in terms of the men that you dealt with that did it versus those that did not, did actually, you could tell they were actually listening to listen and have the conversation, what would you say? Would you say there was a higher percentage of men that were listening to respond, or they actually?
I can say there are only 4 men, and my current one is one of them. 4 men that actually listen, acknowledge, and provide a solution to the problems that I come to them with the first time. Everybody else, and I would say everybody else because I also look at the caliber of those men. I also look at the demeanor of those men, the behaviors of those men. But typically, those 4 men, they addressed the issue, they acknowledged it, they didn't run from the problem, and they made me feel comfortable enough to where even now going back to address the conversation or have a hard talk, it's a lot more easier than what I thought it would be. I also learned to control myself in dealing with those men. One of them happened to be my high school sweetheart. He was doing that as a kid. He was doing that far younger, but his upbringing was different. And when he and I talked, it was always personalized. It was always very thorough. But he also had to assert himself and let me know, you're not going to talk to me any type of way. You can deal with me better than you deal with me. And I had to check myself. So I learned to do that over time. So now that's not even that was never a conversation my current man had to have with me, because I learned that early on. My current man never had to tell me, watch your tone. My current man never had to tell me, you're not going to call me out my name. He's never had to tell me those things. But overall, the majority of men do not know how to handle the issues that way in order for a woman to feel like she's being heard and want to move forward with him.
All right, it's on you, Hank. How do men trigger women? Or how have you triggered?
You want to know how I trigger them personally?
I mean, either or.
Some just being sarcastic sometimes. Me just being present will trigger some of these ladies up here on the stage and trigger women before. I mean, some of the things I said, like I said about gender roles, that triggers some women. I mean, you won't know about personally, but for the most part, when women, what Paris was saying was, men usually walk away, don't want to argue. The reason why he don't want to argue right there in the mound, because he knows it's going to go left. Because y'all don't play fair. Y'all don't play fair at all. And like you said, your man didn't have to tell you to watch how you talk to me. Well, most women don't. That's not how they talk to a man. They talk to him with a condescending tone. They talk to him like they're children. They don't talk to him. They lecture him. They don't listen to them when they are ready to respond. They just want to keep talking. So really, we just there to listen to you. We your sounding goddamn board. So, and then when he decides that he wants to speak back, then now the trigger. Well, what you even talking for? Why did you even open your goddamn mouth? Because she didn't want you to talk. She just wants you to listen. Even though it was a situation between you and her, she just wants you to hear her and get her shit off. But don't want to hear what you got to say. Because what you got to say is irrelevant. But then she'll come back and turn with the same breath. Are you listening to me? Did you hear what I said? Who the fuck are you talking to? You're not my goddamn mother. So guys, if you have to check your woman like that, then do it. Now, you may not use the harsh language that I use, but you may want to bring to attention, you are not my mother. You don't need to talk to me like that. You don't need to disrespect me. You could talk to me like I'm talking to you. Calm, cool, and collective and respectfully. Let's keep it there. Now, if we can't, we don't need to have a conversation because that's not what you really want anyway. You just want me to listen to your ass.
Well, I will say this. You have to look at the dynamic of how the generations are communicating. Because in my experience, right, I grew up when cell phones became a commonality for teenagers, and I've always had one. Simply put, we do deal with the whole idea of going to a man, trying to talk to him, texting out all. And I ain't saying this is the perfect way of communication, but texting out all of our thoughts, all of our feelings in the nicest, most simplest way, or texting out all of our frustrations, acknowledging this, showing examples, showing, the real proof of what we come with. And the response will be, okay. We deal with
because
that.
We don't. And the reason why we do it because we don't need to be talking like that right now. Because I don't know your agenda.
No.
I don't know your. Let me finish. Let me finish. I don't know your tone when you're saying all of these things you're saying. I pretty much I got to guess, and it depends on how long we've been together. I kind of know how you probably responded, or acting, or feeling some type of way. But I'm really projecting and guessing. I really don't know, and it may not be what I'm thinking. I could be totally off. And so now I want to just say just enough to keep her at bay. Okay, or we'll talk about it later when we get home.
Hey,
it's just not the time right now. So don't come stressing me out at work, getting all your shit off, because you're able to get your shit off and you're able to say what you need to say, but I'm not in a position to respond. And now I'm frustrated. I'm upset. I'm mad. And now my coworker like, hey, what's wrong with you, dog? I don't want to sit there and go out. Yeah, my lady, she in her feelings. Now I got to deal with it. Now I'm treating them some type of way because of the text message I got from you. No, that's not cool. That's not okay.
I will address the fact that you are correct in saying, hey, maybe at the time, but that's not talking about the girls who sent a text message saying, can we talk? And he like, well, I don't want to talk on the phone right now. Just text it to me. Him inserting his boundary. That what you're saying is coming from a place of a man who not only you understand your authority, the woman has already a good implication of the type of person you are, what you will and won't deal with. You're also far more emotionally intelligent than most men. You know how to very much so handle situations a lot better. On the basis of a man who may be dealing with a woman and he's not too certain of how he wants to, proceed with her. They're stuck in limbo. They have their own issues. And again, I'm not taking away from women weaponizing their words. I'm not taking away from that. I am saying the trigger of a woman, right? When you're sitting there telling a man, this is how I feel. It's very much so A, B, and C, cookie cutter, straight up and down. And he's sitting there telling you, well, this is the way we are going to communicate. And he's reading it, your thoughts. He's seeing it verbatim. You can't misstep a text message. And then for him to come back and say, okay. And then she's responding and saying, you don't have anything to say to what I said. And the response typically goes something along the lines of, well, what you want me to say? It's like you're causing a defense. You're causing a trigger. You're causing something to be more than what it is because she's clearly came to you and laid this out. Women don't communicate well. We communicate a lot. But if you're reading what I'm saying as a problem, at that point, there should not be no misinterpretation. You're reading it. And this is also what happens in our generation.
but we also know just because you're reading don't mean it's interpret the way it says. That's the big key. It doesn't always mean what it said. I could say certain, I could talk to you so nice, Press, but I could be cutting you down, right? Or I could just say something just off the wall, but really giving you a compliment.
But
It
that should not
depends.
be.
You know, it depends on the situation and the tone. I get addressed all the time. Hank, man, your tone and your delivery. God damn, but I'm saying the same goddamn thing. Cloud just said it. He just said it in a more sweeter and more loving way, and I just was straight to the goddamn point. But we pretty much saying the goddamn same thing. It happens like that. So I'm gonna let
All right,
somebody else speak on it. I appreciate the back and forth, Press. Thank you, man.
I'm about to go to Luis, then Coach K. It's on you, Luis.
Yeah, man. I think for me and my personal experience, especially dealing with women in relationships, is that often sometimes what happens is that we listen to respond rather to listen to understand or comprehend. And one of the things that I've come to grips is to ask the question, when my woman wants to talk to me about something, I always ask, do you want me to just simply listen, or do you want me to provide a solution? Right? Because sometimes you're being approached like, I want to talk to you about something, I want to tell you about something, but you don't even know where the conversation is going to go. And sort of you're trying to, take in a lot, but also because we're, solution based, right? We try to think about how we're going to fix it, how we're going to come up with a solution, or, how does this affect us, right? Rather than sometimes they want to be listened to just vet, but we're trying to find a solution, right? Because we didn't set the expectation right up front. You know what I'm saying? Do you just want me to listen because you want to vent and you want to get something off your chest, or there's something that you feel discontent about, or do you want me to provide a solution for you, or a path forward for something? And I think that's very important. You did really bring up something, you and Paris dialoguing back and forth, that made me take some notes. Cell phones have really ruined the way that we do relationships and how we communicate. Because if I work in a very stressful, very mental focused space, right? I can't receive bad news in the middle of the day and it's going to throw me off my A game. Now I can't even focus on my bag. Now I can't pay attention and focus to my clients and take care of things because this lingering issue is, running in the background, right? Because like, damn, this happened and like, I got to think about how to take care of that when I get home, rather than waiting until that person got home from their day, decompress, showered, and sit down and have the conversation. There is no need to drop that type of bomb during the day. We have really created a culture of that, right? Before cell phones, you used to have to think hard about how you're going to tell them, when you're going to tell them, how you're going to approach them, right? It's the first thing in the morning, first thing in the afternoon, first thing in the middle of the day, right? And then you sitting in your car in traffic or on the train, you have time to unpack that for yourself. You have time to think through that, right? Even if it was an argument that you said, oh, you didn't take out the trash, you never do this, blah, 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 blah. You have an opportunity to sit there in the car and think about it. You have an opportunity to sit there on the train and think about it and be prepared and diffuse yourself, because you're coming in hot. And by the time you get home in the afternoon after that, it's not even that big of a deal. You're like, you know what? You're right, man. I'm going to go take care of that. You know what? This is how I feel about this. We should move forward doing it this way. But you already having the time to kind of think it through. It's already mellowed out. But two people coming at the situation right when the issue at hand is in play, that's what kind of creates that tension. And being able to kind of take that time to like not need to talk about it. If it's not precedent, it's not life and death or a high priority, save it until you get home and have that conversation. Like, look, I just want you to listen. I got to talk about something, right? And I think that when we miss these opportunities to set these sort of scenarios up, right? And we're just kind of free flowing. That's when the argument comes in, and it's like, oh, here we go again with this bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Now you're already turned off. You're mentally checked out. You're just there, just listening, but nothing is registering with you. And I think that goes for men and women alike, because even with women, once you trigger, like, doesn't matter. The most logical stuff that comes out of your mouth is going through one ear and out the other, right? So I think it's very important to kind of set the tone and the stage for a lot of scenarios, especially if they're present in your relationship. How you?
I'm about to come to you, Coach K. Quick, I mean, I think, it determines on your baseline communication, because I'm definitely not opposed to text messaging. I'm not opposed to writing stuff down, because I feel like in the midst of, discourse or having a discussion, I feel like when you write stuff down, it's not going to be interrupted. You're going to get all your points across so they'll understand. So even if y'all need to have the face-to-face conversation later about it, at least everything you had on your chest, you got to put out there, whether it's a written note or whether it's a text message. Now, depending on if you want this to be resolved, that dictates how you present it to them. So like Luis was saying, the middle of your work shift, you already know it's hectic at the job, afternoon or after lunch, it's hectic. So if you're sending this message to them in that situation, if I'm receiving that at that time, I'm feeling some type of way. You know what I'm saying? And in my younger years where, I might have been more emotional, I'm like, she's sending this now. So now I'm defensive, and my response is going to be defensive. It's like, and you're going to get a text back like Paris was saying, okay. You know what I mean? Okay is like, whatever, F your feelings, and I'm going to let you sit on that. And I know how you're going to respond, because exactly what you explained is what my intent was. If you put your feelings out there articulately and somebody responds okay, that's a clear message right there.
But that's why I said that I think that we're having a conversation about how generations cross each other, because that is a normal way of us communicating now. For my generation, sometimes problems are talked out in person. Sometimes problems are talked out in text message, because it's the normality of how we talk to each other. So Jay, what you're saying is absolutely correct. But if you're talking about triggering a woman, that's a trigger. We see all the time where there are constant posts. I don't care what site you're on, where it says, "Girl, don't send that man that long text message. He don't care." That's literally what it is. Like, you want to vocalize how you feel. You want to tell him, "Hey, this is the issue, this, that, and the third." But the response is gonna be, you sent a long paragraph and you got 2 letters back.
All right, it's on you, Coach.
So I'm going to provide something a little different. I think oftentimes in relationships, women, probably goes for men, but we're speaking on women. Women trigger women. I think that it's all up to interpretation what, we want to make things mean. How we all can think of times where we think something's wrong with our man. We're like watching him, just, oh, there's another sign, something's up. So then when we go and ask him, hey, like, is something going on? For maybe he doesn't feel good, or maybe there's something on his mind about something completely unrelated. But if we didn't give him that time or kind of question ourselves, like, okay, if he does have an issue, he'll bring it forward and we'll talk about it. But until then, I'm not going to worry about it. So I'm not going to like, oh, he must have an issue, or start to like get anxiety over, did I do something, and it just creates a mess that doesn't need to happen. And it depends on what the situation is, if you need to talk about it right then and there, because I think everyone's different. All situations are different. But oftentimes we will think that someone doesn't care because they're not acting the way that we think they should act. We have a manual for them. You need to act this way. Otherwise, I'm not happy. This means this. And it causes so much destruction in a relationship. So I would say women trigger women most often question your thoughts and what you're making things mean. Because sometimes I swear it's like guys are like, they're not like duh, but like they just, it's really not that serious, you know? Like he isn't intentionally trying to hurt you most times. I mean, we're talking about men that we want to be with, ladies, right? Like I don't think my husband has bad intentions. I don't think he meant to do this. So when I, you know, then show up to the conversation in that way, I'm going to act different, and usually the conversation is going to go a bit different. So hopefully that makes sense.
All right, we're gonna go to you, Clout, and then we go to Mistaken.
All right. I'm surprised nobody has mentioned this, but I think women are triggered by things that remove them from whatever world they've created in their mind. I think women are triggered by things that make them feel shame, ego, insecurity. I think women are triggered by things that put fault or responsibility in their direction. I think active listening is obviously important, but I think the reason why so many men have difficulty communicating with women, especially in the situation Paris talked about with the long text, is because that man knows that there is no way to respond or correct that, whatever that woman sent him. She sent him a whole paragraph about how he's moving funny, acting funny. That man inherently knows there is no way for him to correct what she's saying or acknowledge what she's saying without having to first make her feel as though she's right. So what happens is men get put in a position where it's like, damn, the only thing she's going to respond positively to right now is being told she's right. And right now she's wrong. If I tell her she's wrong right now while I'm at work, she's going to get triggered. She's going to argue with me, and I'm going to be having this conversation all day at work. So rather than tell her she's wrong right now because she is wrong, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, right now, get through my day at work. And then by the time I get home, she's going to probably figure out she was wrong on her own. She's going to be probably be like, oh, you know, something happened. She figured something out. Oh, you was right, whatever the case is. So a lot of the times as men, you create a whole fight by simply trying to get a woman to realize where she messed up at, where she made a mistake at, where she's telling you about a situation at work and she says something rude to her coworker and you're like, but why did you say that? That's what triggers her, because by you asking her why she said that, she has to think about it, and then she realizes, holy shit, I was being a bitch. And now you've triggered her because she has to accept that she was wrong. And now there's something that is her responsibility to do about it. And women hate having new responsibilities added to their plate. If a woman's upset about an argument she had with a coworker, the last thing she wants to do is realize that, damn, I now am responsible to go apologize to that coworker. Damn, I actually messed up at work and I need to go apologize to my boss. And there's a million situations like that with women. I think we don't acknowledge that women have really big egos, especially in the modern world. And a lot of women in this modern world are extremely narcissistic. And when you're dealing with a narcissist, when you're dealing with people with narcissistic energy, they're always going to police your tone. They're always going to police your response. They're always going to be triggered, because being triggered is a way to get out of being responsible. Being triggered is a way to get out of the reality that you're trying to force them to see. And being triggered is a way to gaslight you into their reality. In their reality, they did nothing wrong. Don't bring me out of that reality. Don't try to bring me no facts. No, I want to be right. And so that's what happens a lot of the time. And I feel like that's something that we don't acknowledge. We like to say, oh, men are not actively listening and all that. I agree. Everybody should be an active listener. But a lot of time it has nothing to do with active listening when you're dealing with men. And I think women know this as well. I think that's why when women talk to each other, to a certain regard, they keep the conversation very light and they keep it very bubbly. And like women try to emote with each other. But if you notice, a lot of times they don't address what the other person actually said. If she said, oh, babe, oh, sweetheart, oh, yes, bitch, you know what I mean? Like, they'll emote, but they won't actually address and provide a response or feedback, because even women know if I give her an actual response or feedback, it's not going to go well. So.
All right, Mistaken, it's on you.
So one of the things that someone brought up was the tone and delivery. That is definitely a trigger for women. Not necessarily, I know everyone has heard that saying about it's not what you say, but how you say it. And I think what happens a lot of times is we will get caught up in the tone and delivery, because for us that's a trigger, because that aligns with how we interpret certain things. And I think a lot of times men say it shouldn't be about my tone, just listen to the message. But it's very difficult to listen to a message when you're offended in a sense of the way you delivered the message. So if the goal is to address a specific issue, and I'm saying the way in which the delivery was felt disrespectful, is going to be very difficult for me to focus on what the issue is at hand when I feel disrespected. And I know men understand tone and delivery as well, because they relate to each other in a certain way, because they understand that if it's said in a certain way, that can lead to a physical altercation, right? So it's not that men don't understand tone and delivery. It seems to be an issue when the tone and delivery, when the woman is expressing like, I don't like the way that you said that to me, right? So I think that is something that, as women, telling men that is something that matters to women, and that should be mindful. That is part of how we say emotional intelligence. You don't speak to everybody the same exact way. Like when you're addressing a kid with a problem, a younger child, you speak in a way that they're going to be able to receive and understand it, right? But I think you need to do that with just in general with people that you deal with. It doesn't mean you got to be like, well, I'm just, no. It's just that the way in which you can still speak in authority, but it can be in a way that is not, that doesn't appear to be or seem disrespectful, but the message is clear. So I think tone and delivery is one area in which women are triggered. But women might be a little triggered by what I'm about to say. But another thing is that I think sometimes women are triggered by their own interpretation of what the man said. So even though tone and delivery might be an issue, sometimes a man can say something specifically when he's addressing something that he didn't like about what we did. The way that we way that
I'm talking about what you're saying right now. That's why they're calling you Miss Mistaken.
the way that we interpret what he's saying can be a trigger, because we're filtering it through our own emotions, our own feelings, our own experiences. So when he says something that for us is a trigger, we're going to automatically get triggered by what he's saying. And what he's saying could be very well be true, but we're triggered by it because it was the way that we interpret, the way that we heard something. And I could definitely speak to me that sometimes I am guilty of that. But he works around that and just be like, wait, hold on, chill. Did you hear what I say? Because sometimes stopping in the middle of a conversation to do a understanding check is very important. Because we will get defensive, especially again, if it's an issue that he's trying to address with us, about us, we will get defensive about it. And then the other thing, we had this conversation not too long ago on a She Critique where this came out, is that sometimes too, not communicating, like sometimes men will bring up an issue that they have with us, and we need to be open to receive it. But I think what happens sometimes is that we have a tendency to not always address everything and may sweep it under the rug or just not say like, yeah, I'm not going to even say nothing about it. But then when he addresses an issue that may be very similar to what we had an issue with, but we never addressed it, then we get triggered because we didn't use the opportunity to address it when we had the issue. But then when he brings it up and is an issue for him, then we're like, well, you do it too. Like one of those. And I know that is very infantile, but sometimes that occurs. Like we missed our opportunity to address that issue. We should have said something then. But in a moment, and when he's addressing us about something, that's not the moment to be bringing up, well, you do the same thing. Address that issue first, and then go ahead and may on the back end, like, well, I hear what you're saying. I received that. And then you can go on to the next one. Because sometimes if we bypass that, issue, and then he addresses it, and now we're feeling offended, like, nigga, you be doing the same stuff, and that's not appropriate in that moment to be trying to address that, because we missed our chance. We had the opportunity to do it. We didn't. So now, you can't be doing that. So we get triggered by those kind of things as well.
Yeah, those are fighting words for real. Those fighting words. All right, Layla, it's on you. How men trigger women.
You on mute?
Oh, nah, you're not on mute. You're on mute now. You're not on mute, right? Wait. Now you're not on mute. It's not working. It went out. All right, while she's getting her audio fixed, while she's fixing her audio, I just had a quick question. And then I'm gonna get a couple of super chats. How did you manage to communicate better? Like, I'm sure as all of us, we've had situations where, like Miss Taken was just saying, where we left some stuff out, or we might have said or tiptoed through a topic or issue that we had, but there was a lot more that we pushed to the side and we didn't communicate. What was something, or what was like a tool that helped you get your true feelings out to communicate how you truly felt so it could be addressed? Paradise.
Oh, okay.
My fault. I'll come to you, Mr. My fault.
No, it's fine. I know I mentioned it earlier. I had to learn it. And a lot of people, even in the comments, they were like, oh, so she had to learn. Yes, because when you are around your peers, right, you're watching them go through relationship stuff, and not even your peers, just in your environment, you're picking up on how other people talk to other people, and you think that that's okay until somebody shows you differently. So I have never experienced like my dad and my mom like yelling at each other and stuff like that. But my dad and my mom were not my only forms of influence on me when it came to relationships. And so I picked up the good behaviors, the bad behaviors. I was just a product of my environment. What made me actually want to learn, and this is going to sound crazy, it was the emotional attachment and the respect and infatuation I had for a man. So when he started to take his time and, like basically tell me, it's cool, right? Like you can calm down. And it kind of made me feel bad. Like he was noticing I was being defensive. He was noticing I was immediately already triggered. He was noticing I was guarded. And when he was noticing those things, it made me feel bad. It made me feel guilty because it was very fresh. It was very new. And I was liking him. And so that's what made me want to learn. And once he started implementing that and acknowledging that, I was like, yeah, I have to do better.
Do you remember like the first, and this is for Paradise again, do you remember the first conversation that you maybe saw take place that was like awkward and you was like, damn, they really had that conversation? Like, something that may be hard to talk about, or something that would be deemed
from
tough.
Seeing other people do it?
I mean, either not necessarily you having that discussion, or something that you said, I have to learn how to do that, because that was a tough discussion.
I never saw that. And I can say because my parents didn't argue, they didn't fight in front of us. That wasn't like something, conflict resolution between my parents. I never saw it. They kept us in a child's place. Whatever was going on between them was going on between them. Other people who were sporadic with their behavior that was around, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, whatever they had going on, if it escalated, adults intervened for whatever reason. But I've never seen people sit at a round table or a couple sit and just simply have a hard discussion amongst each other or address things. Because in my community, people typically kept their relationship business to themselves. That's just what it was. It took for me, again, with my high school sweetheart, we were kids. He was very much so a different guy, just different all the way around. Even the caliber of man he is today, I'm very proud of him. And the way that I interacted with him was always a specialized case. But it wasn't until I got older that I realized, after having a very good experience with a male in college, that the way that I had been interacting with my high school sweetheart should have been the way that I was interacting with me and after him as well. It should have been the way that I curated all my relationships, which is why after I left the situation in college and I moved to Texas, that's what I got, right? Like, so I was able to understand that dynamic, re-implement it, and go back to it, because I also learned bad behaviors from my environment, because people are not doing the things that we know them to used to do. They don't talk about their relationships unless they're bashing their partner, or they're venting, or they're telling you something that they're getting ready to do together that they want praise for, such as buying a house or getting married. Everything else is swept under the rug.
Mistaken.
I would say that I've learned and am still learning. I think it's a continual journey to self-improvement and in communication. But I would say that I learned to improve my communication better from my husband in a way that he communicated to me. As he began to develop his communication skills with me, it is by, I guess, by design or what have you, it elevated my communication skills with him. And I think a lot of times when we are communicating with each other, it's a mirrored communication. So if his voice raises, I automatically start getting hyped too. You know, if I feel like the tone in which he's saying something is very harsh, then I typically came back in that same tone or manner until, you know, we begin to have conversations. Like I might feel like I'm taking something some way and he's taking the other. I realize that I can't communicate with him the same way that he communicates with me. So he may communicate with his boys or talking to his boys a certain way, and he's just used to being direct and But when he talks to me like that, it makes me feel some kind of way. And so then I communicate back in that same way, but he'll receive that as being disrespectful. And I'm like, well, like, that's the way you said it to me. Why is it disrespectful? Now you see how I feel, right? But I had to mature in that area to be more mindful of tone and delivery. But I also had to explain to him that tone and delivery matters to me. So as he began to actively work on that, because the goal is to get to the crux of what the issue is and what the resolution is going to be. But if tone and delivery is going to be something that prevents us from moving forward, we both acknowledged that we needed to work on it, and we actively tried to work on it. And so it got better. I think the other thing, I had wrote this down that stuck out to me with what Paris said about her not actually seeing like her parents or whatever ever argue, and that was kept behind closed doors. I think back in the day, I think that was the way things were done. But I think nowadays, I think it's critical and very important for your children to see how, as adults, especially as your parents in an environment, to see how they resolve conflict. Depending on what the topic of discussion is. Some stuff is for a kid's place, but some things I think is very important for your children to see, not only conflict resolution, but also apologizing. Like if I'm wrong, there are certain things that like we'll get into it about, our kids have seen, but they've also seen the follow-up where I would come and say, you know what, after thinking about that, you were right. I apologize for doing whatever the specific transgression was that I did on my end, taking responsibility and ownership for that. It was very important for me, for my kids to see what that looks like. So not just the arguing, but also the resolve, the resolution, and the apology that comes with it if either one of us was out of line. My husband too, if he's wrong, he'll come back and be like, you know what, I give it up. You were right. Like, my bad. I apologize. So I think it's important for our children, especially now, what y'all are saying with like social media, they're getting all of these negative images of how people communicate. But if you as a husband and wife and your kids see that, they're seeing it practice in real time. They're seeing what that looks like in real time. So it's definitely important for that to occur. But like kind of like what I said, I learned to get better with communication through active communication and from my husband.
Layla is working.
Yep, we back.
Okay, perfect. All right, so you want to touch on the last topic, the trigger topic, and then we'll hop into super chats.
Yeah, so in my opinion, I think what triggers women is just the way men think in general. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm saying that in the sense of women, we are far more emotional than men. Men kind of think 1, 2, 3, and we're thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So basically, and hearing it both ways, men have to adjust, like overly adjust themselves in order not to trigger a woman. Like a woman could be on her menstrual cycle and the pen drops on floor, she's triggered. A woman can be having a bad day at work and one of the coworkers pissed her off, she's triggered. Like, we are very feeling and emotional beings. And part of that is important when it comes down to the nurture part of being a woman. We have to be emotional. We have to be empathetic. We have to be feeling. But men are more, in my opinion, straightforward with their emotions. They feel something, they speak on it. They don't feel anything, they don't say anything about it. But women will sit here and overthink, like, wow, he's quiet today. Why is he so quiet? And another thing that I realize is guys, they process things differently. Sometimes they get quiet. It could have been something at work. It could be something going on with family. They have to figure it out in their heads as to not just their feelings, but what comes next. What are we going to do from here? Whereas a woman, we're sitting here like, oh, they must have been talking to someone else. Oh, they're mad at me. There must be something wrong with me. And I think that goes hand in hand with what Clout was saying and even what Coach K was saying about just women will overthink it. And instead of sitting here relaxing, like, okay, he'll talk to me when he's ready, we try to force them to answer us and jump when we say to. And I feel like it isn't fair. So when it comes down to what triggers women, I just think the way men deal with emotions and things in general triggers a woman. Of course, what Paradise was saying, when you get that okay after sending 2 paragraphs, but those 2 paragraphs came from you expressing your feelings. They're not in that feeling type of energy all the time. And we tend to be in it a lot more than them. So that okay, it's like, I don't want to deal with this right now. Or she's overthinking, or here you go again with whatever it is. And I do feel like, yeah, for men, they do have to, understand we are feeling, we do have these emotions. So, the whole thing as far as tones and the way you say things and all that, it's relevant. But I also feel like women, we need to sometimes just step back and realize when we're doing too much. I've had partners in the past tell me, like, here you go again, with all your feelings and your emotions. And even though all of them are valid, it's the timing. It's the way I'm saying it. Because sometimes we're not straightforward. Like, you did this to bother me. Sometimes I feel like women will sit here and say all the little details that led to us being bothered instead of just getting to the point as to what's bothering you so we could fix it. So I think on both sides, like, communication needs to improve. But what triggers a woman is, I feel like, depending on the day, the time of the month, the way the weather is, maybe it just really depends on any situation. I don't think there's one specific thing men do. I think it's really depending where that woman's feelings are in that moment.
Can I add one thing? I think that would help communication is just stop trying to win. no one's winning. We're both here. You like this person, you love this person, right? Why are you trying to win? That's it.
That's a fact. That's a
I
fact.
will also add, stop fighting your partner, fight the problem. You're there together. When you got two minds to think together to be as one, right? Like the problem is there between the two of you, right? But just because that problem bothers you doesn't mean that they are your punching bag. Don't fight the person,
Absolutely.
fight the problem.
Absolutely. And I feel like I've had like my last partner, my most recent partner, the person I've been with, he was telling me at one point or another, he's like, not just from me, but everyone around him, as a man, people emotionally dump on him. It's no regard for his feelings. He's like, because I'm constantly consistent in the way I act emotionally, everyone around me feels comfortable dumping, from his mom to me to anybody that has all of these feelings going on, and they dump on him, and it does weigh on him. And I feel like because men don't outwardly say all the time, hey, you know, this is a lot for me right now, like you're putting a lot on my plate right now, women don't second guess and think, oh, okay, well, you know, this is a human too, this is someone that has feelings and emotions as well. Why am I expressing? Because it's not even just, I'm not limiting this to relationship issues. You have a bad day, you come home from work, you're dumping all your emotions and feelings about your day on him. Did you even ask if his day was all right? You don't know what kind of prejudice, racism, whatever he was just dealing with before you came home and dumped all those feelings on his plate. So I feel like there has to be better listening both ways and getting to know your partner. Don't try to win the argument. Don't sit here and try to, you know, make it all about you. Sometimes it's just not about you. And I think when people do those self-assessments, and it's a self-assessment, you shouldn't have someone telling you, hey, you're being a problem. Take a self-assessment. Are you doing too much, or is what you're feeling valid? Why are you feeling that way? Are you feeling that way because something that happened earlier in that day and you're pushing it on your partner? Or are you feeling that way because something your partner did truly hurt you? That's just how I feel.
Well, ladies, most of the times we don't have the freedoms to do those things. We don't have the freedoms to unload like that. There's no space at home. There's definitely no space at the workplace. So where's a man to do that at? If he can't do it at home, where can he do it?
Well, my
So
question
And that's
is,
why I
why
think
are you feeling
self-assessments
like
are
you
important.
can't do that at
ladies,
home?
let me finish. Y'all prime example right there. Y'all wouldn't even let me finish. I'm trying to unload, and y'all won't even let me finish.
It was a pause right there, Hank.
Oh, thank you for being a great example of what I'm talking about. Ladies will not let us unload. They won't give us the freedom to unload. You won't give your husband or your significant others, I don't believe in calling a man a partner because y'all not equal, your significant others a place to unload. Y'all don't. Y'all won't. And will y'all ever? I don't know. Maybe one day I would like to see that in a whole, but it doesn't happen. So men are forced to do other things. They have to bottle it up. They have to close it off, and hopefully they got some comrades they can talk to that they can unload with. And if they don't, hopefully they can seek out professional help through a therapist, through the pastor, or through some type of confidant that they can have that conversation with.
And that's
I
why I
agree
think
with.
self-assessments are important. Like if a woman, and just not, if women in general take a second to consider what their partner might have dealt with in their day or what they're going through, my relationship lasts as long as it has because of the fact that I got to this point of asking, like, hey, what's going on with you? And making the home a safe place. If you don't make your home a place where your man can express and, you know, talk about his feelings and thoughts, and nobody's perfect. Nobody in the world is perfect. But at some point, if you love that person, you need to take that evaluation of self. Am I being selfish? Am I considering this other person's feelings? Just because he doesn't speak on it all the time and how he feels all the time, that doesn't necessarily mean he doesn't have feelings. Women, we like to express our emotions because we want to get it out of our system so we could focus on the next task. And I feel like when it comes down to the men, if they're not getting that from you where they feel heard, then you're going to be mad when they start having somebody else sitting here listening and acting like they care, and they might not even have their best interests in mind. They're just playing a certain role because they know you don't listen.
I was just, and we can move on after this. I was just going to say, if the home doesn't feel safe enough for you to unload, then I do think that that's a moment for reflection on identifying what is the cause of that. Like, why do I feel like I can't? And then address that so then you can. You know what I'm saying? And the reason I say that is because I think my husband and I have transitioned in the ability to do that, where it was the check-ins. And this just started happening, I would say, over the last few years. I had told a story before about me coming into the home with, like, on my cell phone, like carrying on conversation, or, you know, whatever. And then he pointed out to me that he wants me to stop that because he feels like it's a form of disrespect with me coming in the house on a phone, as opposed to acknowledging when I come through the door, to be able to acknowledge him or whoever's in the home by saying, hey, you know, I'm home. Hey, babe, whatever, first. So his rule of thumb was, when you come in a house, I don't want you to be on the phone, and give me at least the first 10 minutes of your time, because I want to check in with you. We need to check in with each other. And so once he created, I would say, that environment in that space, that led to a better environment in terms of having conversation and filling things out. So I'll come through the door, hey, babe, whatever, I'm home or whatever. And then, how was your day? Both of us get that. And then if something happened at work, he's sharing that with me. Like, this, you know, he work around a lot of women. So a lot of times it's this, you know, or, you know, this is what happened or what have you. And then we have that conversation. And then vice versa, I'm able to kind of share with him. And I would say that kind of allows both of us to see what temperament each other is on. And if, you know what, I know he ain't in the mood for this, so I'm not going to even say nothing today about this, because I recognize he had a hard day. So I think that if you don't have a place to, like, your home should be the first place that you should be able to unwind and unload your mind. If not, figure out what's going on in a place so that it can happen.
Mistaken, let me ask you a question, and this question is also for the ladies on the panel and the ones in the chat as well. At what point in this relationship or this interaction, this dynamic, are you having those types of conversations about how you show up for that person? You know what I'm saying? Because one of the things I always ask women, how do you show up for the people that you care about in your life? You know what I'm saying? And what does that look like? And sort of that gives me a glass view inside of how you navigate relationships, how you value them, how do you, you know, cater to certain people's needs, and how do you read the situation, how to read the room. A lot of people do not know how to read the room. They don't know how to body language and those things. So I'm just curious, like, at what segment? Because we're talking about the established. Everybody's talking about the final product. I want to know what the things are like in the works leading up to that, right?
Well,
because
you're right, because I'm 20 years in now. We just celebrated our 20-year vow renewal last month. So it has. Thank you. It's been, like I said, an ongoing process that we had to learn in our younger years in terms of understanding how that communication happens. I can only speak from hindsight now, because in the beginning, I didn't have the skill set. It had to be developed. But one of the things that I can most definitely say is, as y'all can tell, I enjoy talking, is that the talking aspect helped a lot. Because sometimes I think what happens is what we think we're doing for the other person is the right way, because that's the way we want it done. And we end up missing the opportunity to show up for them in the way that they need. And the only way that you're going to be able to do that is through conversation and understanding self. I could say I learned a lot from him, from my husband, about understanding myself. There were things that I was trying to put on him and wanting him to fix about me, but he couldn't do that. I had to do that work. But where his work was pointing out those things that I needed to work on and giving me suggestions on how I probably could. But it was a whole lot of self-reflection. So the more I knew myself, I was then able to effectively communicate to him how I needed him to show up for me, and vice versa. Instead of me doing what I think he needed, I just came out and asked him, how do you want me to show up for you? What does that look like?
And how often did you guys have those check-ins with each other?
I would say pretty often. If it was something that I didn't nail down or I wasn't clear about, he would come back to the table and say, I see you trying, but this ain't it. Like, I need X, Y, and Z. So that was the way that he communicated. He is a very direct person. So it needs to look like this. And then that gave me the freedom. His ability to express to me gave me the freedom to feel like I didn't have to worry about expressing to him. And so that was the way. It's showing up in a way, instead of showing up in a way that we think the other person needs, is just directly asking them, how do you need me to show up for you? What does that look like? So I don't have to interpret what that means.
So I wanted to say that I did love the way that Miss Mistaken talked about, like, how her and her husband cultivate their home being a safe haven. I absolutely agree with that. That was a beautiful way of making the analogy. But in regards to the totality of the conversation, right? The reality is there there has been a huge setback. It will forever be a setback on how men's emotions are manifested and how they're acknowledged in regards to the dynamic between men and women. We will always be dismissive to them. It's very hard to unlearn that because that is a society thing, and we psychologically intermit it into our relationships. It's a very difficult struggle. Lewis asked a good question, and I think that goes into it. When I know something is wrong with my man, I I tell him I know something wrong with you, and he is very much so a person who suppresses a lot. So how he typically does, he'll go silent. His whole way of dealing with any problems is leave me alone. I don't care what it is. It could be something very minuscule. His whole way of dealing with it, I'm gonna go play the game. Leave me alone. And he may not talk. He may not talk for a day. He may not talk for 3 days until he figure it out. And I have to sit. I have to be patient, and I have to wait on him to come back around because I know this about him. I don't force it or anything. What I have learned to do, first thing I ask when he starts communicating again, do you want to talk about it or have you figured it out? And from that point on, we following his lead. If he want to talk about it, I'm all ears. I don't care, whatever it is. Whatever's going on with me don't even matter at that moment. But everything else, it's on him. And I'm following his lead. The only thing that I'm doing in the background is trying to ensure that I'm being as supportive as possible, trying to ensure that I'm showing him, hey, it's okay. Speaking words of affirmation, that is a huge one. I'm always telling him things that could up his spirits because I don't know all the time what's on his mind. And I'm always stepping out to do things that he ain't asking me to do that puts him first, that thinks of him. I know he like cars. I know he like anime. I know he like sports. I know he like, a little bit different types of things. So I made sure I paid the cable bill because I knew sports was coming on. So, it's like those little nuances I find ways to do. He loves steak. We're gonna go get a steak, like it's on me this time. Or it's just little things that show like I got your back. I know the world is hard, I got your back. But it don't have to be always this grandiose gesture or something extra sexually provocative, like blowing him in his lap. It's literally sometimes just making yourself available at his beck and call. Your line on me. Like when you go sit in the barber's chair, I got you this time. Go do something for yourself that ain't got nothing to do with me. I know you going out with the boys tonight. Here's $100 for your shots. Like other things that implement showing him like I'm still here. I know that this is stressing you out. I know that the world is weighing tough on you. Mental health is a very, very trying thing with Black men. We will never understand it. We will never get it. But all you can do is be the best version of yourself and show up and stop trying to make it about you when he's adamantly telling you there is a problem present. And even if he ain't saying it, his body language is showing it.
Absolutely. All right, I'm gonna jump into these super chats. So first we have a $5 super chat from Fareed Majub. 6523 year of human recorded history, and we still talking about this subject. This is madness. Since when did women start telling men what to do? Appreciate the $5 super chat. Now we have Big Ant with the $10 super chat. Appreciate that. If you think that cleaning is not your responsibility, regardless of your sex, then you better not join the military. 100. And Hank can't cook on the grill. All right. CT through you, cut through you, oil change. Most men not changing their own oil. We frequent that same shop for those services. All right. Tay-Biz TV with the $4.99 super chat. Also a member. Appreciate you, brother. Amazing how we put gender roles on tasks and domestic chores, but not in the actual relationships. Lol, the selfishness of humanity is the crux of it all. Dedicated to my children's future, member, $20 super chat. Who's ready for some Sunday energy before the game start? And for any Texans fans, it's not your day today out there. Go Ravens. Salute to the panel in the chat. Let's hit the like button, please. All right, next super chat, Darius Horton, $5 super chat. So is that we treat each other as the opposite defective gender? Example, treating boys as defective girls, I guess he was saying. Probably driving. Big Ant 11 with the $10 super chat. Example, if someone breaks in the house and I tell you to get down and you don't because you're triggered, then that's on you. Maybe you are not mentally evolved as you lied to yourself to be.
I have an actual example where that situation happened.
Everything is in context. Come on now.
She's a liability.
All right, Coach K, please like the video. Thanks. Member for 17 months. All right. All right, what's the Luis, you were saying you have an example when something like that happened?
Oh no, man! I love it when people use the somebody breaks into the house.
That's like
which isn't often, depending on where you live. If you live in a high crime rate, then
right.
In the suburbs, that doesn't happen too often, but you can never be too careful.
That goes with the mowing the lawn too. A lot of times we're talking about mowing the lawn, but we're not thinking about people who live in apartments, live in cities. They don't have experiences where they're doing that kind of stuff. If you're living in an apartment, you're not fixing stuff. You're calling the super. You're not mowing the lawn. There is no lawn to mow. So it's just people don't like we're both from New York. When we came here, it was a huge learning curve for him because a lot of this stuff he just did not know because he didn't have to know, so.
So wouldn't it be fair to say that we're talking
shout out to the homeowners then? God damn it. Shout out to the homeowners.
Seriously. So wouldn't it be fair to say that we're talking to a specific age demographic between perhaps, let's say, maybe 30, 32 onwards? I would even probably say maybe 34 because women are buying homes more than men and a little bit younger. It seems like the average man is buying a home around like, I think it's like 34, 35, if I saw the numbers. Women, it's about 20, 28, so there is a little bit of an age gap difference there. But needless to say, I think it's probably safe to say that we're talking about a specific, more seasoned age demographic than we try to throw people in their early mid to late 20s in there, because most of them are still living in condos and duplexes and apartment buildings where they don't have that level of responsibilities.
All right. So we're going to get to the last topic, which is how cheaters start. So I'm going to get into the video 1 second. But before we get in the video, just a quick, Hank, how do you think cheating starts, in your opinion?
You said, how do I think cheating starts?
Yep. What do you think is the first thing that clicks where somebody might say to themselves, yeah, I think I'm about to go get some strains, man. I think I'm about to veer off.
If you're not getting the strain at home, more than likely you're going to go cheat. Because you ain't getting that ass satisfaction from the crib. Yeah.
Cheating starts at the beginning of the relationship, man. It starts the moment somebody that know they're not ready to settle down settles down and tells somebody that they're going to be faithful to them when they know they're not ready for it.
It starts in the mind, period. It starts in the mind, because if it's not in you to cheat or want to cheat, you're not going to think about cheating. I think a lot of times it starts in the mind because we get frustrated about something. And so then we start looking at outside ways to resolve the issue. And so we're setting stuff up in our mind like, well, she don't cook, she don't clean, she ain't give me no, I know I could get it somewhere else. So then it's already playing in your mind. And so then you're going to create a situation in which that can happen. Same thing with women. He, doesn't make me feel X, Y, and Z, or I feel like he's doing da-da-da-da. So it starts in the mind and you start thinking, oh, look at Sam. Oh, Sam looked like he takes care of his woman. And then you're playing that over in your mind. And then you create a situation in which you open up the doors for something to happen. But
men don't play within mind. If I'm not getting no ass over a period of time, I'm eventually got to go somewhere to where I'm gonna go get that satisfaction. It's not playing shit in my mind. That's a woman shit. That now I understand, because y'all more emotional when y'all do what y'all do.
No, you setting it up in your mind to give an excuse for why you should go cheat. Look, that's what I'm saying.
I didn't give no excuses. I wasn't getting no ass.
So then why not have that conversation? But my point, Hank, is if you're in a committed relationship, right? That's why it's called cheating. It means you're doing something outside of what the rules of the game were. So my question to you is, if she's not fulfilling her obligation to give you ass or whatever it is that you expect, then why not have that conversation to say, you know what? I don't feel you're fulfilling my needs in these areas. Either A, give her opportunity to do that. B, if she's not, then just I'm out. The cheating comes in is when you're not having those conversations, and then you're not moving forward to try to resolve whatever that issue is, and you choose to step outside of the lines of what the agreement was. That's cheating. And it starts in the mind first.
To what you said about the rules, right? I want to respond to what you said about like cheating being about going against the rules. Because like my thing is this, right? If you play Monopoly, right? Let's say we all play Monopoly. We all know there's different pieces. There's like the car, there's the hat, there's the boot, and all of that, right? Mm-hmm. But if you ain't got none of those pieces, and I decide, I'm gonna use a chess piece as my piece, is that cheating?
Yes, because the rules for Monopoly specifically states how to play the game. So if you're doing anything else outside of the game, then that's cheating.
But what I'm saying is, if the game you talking about, right, that of the rules you're supposed to follow doesn't come equipped with all the pieces it's supposed to come equipped with, and you're forced to improvise, then how are you cheating? You're not breaking the rules.
That's your fault. You know why?
It's your fault that there's no pieces in the game.
No, because you purchased the game. If you purchased the Monopoly game that didn't have all of the right pieces and you still bought it anyway, and now you're trying to improvise to make the game work, that's on you. You should have put that game right back on the shelf.
Leave the game at the store, right?
You don't know what's in the box. That's ridiculous.
And
Hold on.
got the game that included all the pieces. That's on you.
In the restaurant.
All right,
The point that I'm making is in any relationship, no one is going to be able to fulfill every single need 100% of the time. If you go in a relationship thinking that that person is going to meet every single need 100% of the time, anytime that person messes up or doesn't meet a need, it gives you an excuse to use different pieces of the game. And you cannot do that, not if you're trying to have a successful, happy relationship and marriage. And I'm only speaking from experience and speaking from those who are still married. Like I said, I'm 20 years in, but that doesn't mean that I haven't gone through all of the, like you said, puzzle pieces missing, and then, getting upset about the game. And, I understand that happens, but that's human nature in any relationship. Your friend ain't gonna fulfill everything. Your mate isn't gonna fulfill everything. But if that gives you an excuse to step outside because you're not feeling fulfilled, then don't get in a relationship.
Look, I get what you're trying to say, but I don't know if you fully understood the example I was giving. Right? I don't think you fully
one at a time, y'all. One at a time.
There's a reason why they say women weaponize sex, because they know that's how sex is very important to a man. So when you all of a sudden not gonna give it to him, then what do you expect that man to do? He's going
to walk away from it. It's all about, because my thing is this:
walking to Nancy's apartment and getting her.
No, walk out of the relationship.
His girlfriend or his old lady is not giving them cheeks up.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If she's not meeting your needs, it is better to walk away from the relationship than stay in it and create even more damage to the relationship. Walk away on good terms. Like, listen.
How we supposed to handle marriage then? Just walk away whenever we don't get no cheeks.
Well, that's my point is this. You're saying the same thing, but you're using cheeks. Are you to walk away or step out anytime a need is not being met? You can't.
Real fast.
Hold on,
before Jay plays the video.
I'm gonna be back, but I just want to go get some ass somewhere else.
I just want to say that that's a contradiction to say the person that you're with cannot provide you everything, but then you're trying to make them the point of contention when they go and outsource sex. So it's like it's got to be one or the other. Either I'm going to give my partner the opportunity, right? I'm going to give my partner the opportunity to meet me at all of these check marks that I require. Sex it's literally like it should have been the last thing that we're withholding from them. We have learned time and time again, like even in the 80s or 90s, they did a study where women should not be weaponizing sex as a way of control for men. It does not reap you the benefits of getting what you need. The more intimacy you have in a relationship, it is scientifically proven, the stronger the relationship will be, the more intimacy you have. So to say, hey, I know you can't be everything I need, but you shouldn't go and sleep with nobody else. It's kind of a contradiction because that means
it's not, because that's human nature. It's human nature.
Hold on, mistaken. Yeah.
It's just okay. Can I just get this off? Let me just get this off. It is human nature. You will not be able to be a fulfillment for anybody you're with 100%. It's impossible. You will disappoint a person in a relationship. You will have disappointments. You deal with disappointments even within yourself. So to think that you're not going to deal with that with somebody else, and if your first go-to is every time I don't feel fulfilled or my partner is not meeting a specific need that I have, I need to walk out. That's not going to make a successful marriage. It's going to create insecurities in a marriage, all of those things that end up building up to why you end up leading to a divorce. If my husband is not giving me sex as often as I want, I'm going to have that conversation with him and then say, what can we do? Can we at least have a baseline minimum of 2 days out of the week at minimum? You know what I'm saying? And he needs to have that conversation with me.
But you start doing
Hold
that.
on, Hank. Hold on, Hank.
And then
Hold
all of
on.
a sudden, shit falls off again. So now we got to
get a reminder.
All right, we coming right back. I promise. Clout, you the first one. You the first one. Let me play the video. Then we come in the Clout, then we go to you, Hank. All right.
I didn't even give myself the opportunity to rest in my femininity, to allow my husband to be my husband, to remember that you were present, because I went straight into doing what I've always done. I had to make deals with men, didn't even recognize it.
Right.
So when you brought it to my attention, you also was like, did I say it too harsh? And I had to tell you, like, no, it was actually very, very graceful. The reason why I was so emotional was because I was able to actually see my inability to receive love, guidance, and rest. And that didn't feel good, that I have someone here who has more than enough ability to protect me, to show up for me, to negotiate deals where I don't have to do the things anymore.
Right.
I didn't feel like I honored you and what I know that you are in my life.
Not even about the lady lumps that he may see. It's that crack of having that moment, him wanting to say it and not having that spiritual confidence, trust that even if this goes left or my wife gets upset, I still need to say this on behalf of myself and to let her know in these type of situations I got it. These are the pockets that actually end up being the soil from which infidelity may start to grow. And a lot of times it's way beyond and somebody else is sexy. In those moments where you violate yourself by not saying what you got to say, by being too rigid against a blind spot being exposed to you, that grows into the discontentment with each other. And before you know it, you're looking to the left, you're looking to the right, what else is out here?
Right. The video was a little confusing. Yeah, it didn't seem to be very clear about like cheating, but I think they're talking about like how a lack of communication or whatever the case is can lead to cheating. I could be wrong, but that's the vibe I got from it.
Right.
Yeah, but she also started talking about, you know, herself as a woman and her ability to lean into her femininity and how that plays a role into her relationship. You know what I'm saying? I got the beginning, but everything else after that was like a salad that I couldn't decipher. But yeah, I got the gist of the message.
All right. It's on you, Clout.
Yeah, okay, like to go back to what we were saying before with the example that we use with the Monopoly thing. I understand what Miss Taken is trying to say, like, oh yeah, well, you bought the game with no pieces, right? Let's just say, but this is how reality works. What she's saying makes somewhat sense, but in reality, this is how it works. If you with your friends and y'all crack out a Monopoly, and there ain't no pieces in the Monopoly, 9 times out of 10, somebody gonna find a button, somebody gonna find a quarter, somebody gonna find a nickel, and somebody's gonna find a dime, and the game will continue. There's a certain selfish level of thinking to expect that the game is supposed to stop because you're not participating. And I feel like a lot of women don't understand that by you refusing to participate, you're cheating. Y'all don't consider that cheating. Y'all consider it cheating when your team gotta sub in another player. That's when women tend to consider it cheating because I had to sub in another player because you was on the bench, you wasn't making no moves. So now you're saying I messed up. But the reality is you messed up the moment you wasn't available. The moment that you weren't there to be one of the starting players is the moment that you created the environment for cheating because that's your job. That's your one job. Your one job is to communicate, to be available, to be there for that person in these ways. The moment that you're not there in those ways is going to be a problem. I don't know if y'all are hearing me well. Somebody said my audio's having some issues, but
no, I can hear you. You coming a little low, but I can hear you.
So, what you're saying, Cloud, is if it so happens that you're the piece that's missing from the game, that the game continues when she finds a sub. And I'm not talking about sex because I know for men, y'all is about sex. But what if you're not meeting her emotional needs? What if you're not meeting her financially? Is it up to her?
Most women leave and cheat on men because of my emotional needs wasn't being met. You know, he lost his job.
That's my point. Is it okay? Because what you're saying is you're making it okay to look for other pieces when you're playing the game, but understand that there's more than one player playing the game.
No, it's not about being okay. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it's unrealistic to have somebody that's relying on you, right, for this need, for you to deny them that need, and then say that them trying to get that need met makes them somehow the problem. The reason why they're with you to begin with is that's part of the contract and negotiation, that I need this need met. That's why I'm with you. You have part of your job in the relationship is to fulfill that. If you decide for whatever reason that you don't want to fulfill that, you are also breaching the relationship contract. And a lot of times we don't acknowledge that that's a breach of the contract, and therefore you're the one who's broken the bond, not the person who decides to go out and get their needs met. It's the person who denied them the meeting of their needs that has broken the bond, because you're the one, you agreed to it. If you could, it's like if I have a contract with somebody, let's say I'm an architect, and the contract is I'm going to do a certain amount of plans for you, or I'm going to have a certain amount, the plans are going to be done in a certain amount of time. And I don't finish the plans. I don't draw them. I don't complete the plans. Guess what? They are justified in not paying me. They're justified in not finishing the project because I have not held up my end of the bargain. We love to put men in situations where the woman's not holding up the end of the bargain. And then when he goes to get his needs met, oh, well, you're a cheater. No, you wasn't holding up your end of the bargain. This is how transactions and contracts work. You have to hold up your end, or else the contract is null and void. Simple as that.
In the null and void part is going through the process of getting the divorce. That's what I'm trying to say. Once the contract, once you say, you know what, I'm not paying you, that's the end of the contract. Like you said, the contract has been broken, right? So there is no, well, I still expect you to still do all of these things for me, even though I'm not going to pay you. That's the point. I'm
not paying to communicate. You're expecting that person who's not paying to call them up and say, hey, well, I'm going to formally end this contract because I've been calling you for months to finish my house plans and you haven't finished them. So
if you don't, guess what? You end up in court.
In the real world, if I'm calling my contractor 20 times and he don't pick up the phone, I'm just going to call another contractor and I'm not sending the bag. I'm not going to give you no type of formal conversation. I'm not going to give you no type of formal breaching of contract. It's like,
that's not true. That's a lie, Cloud. I deal with contractors all the time with the stuff that I've dealt with in my house. The process is call them. Listen, this is what it says in the contract. I need you to do X, Y, and Z to give them an opportunity to fix it or whatever the situation is. I think a lot of times what happened is we don't give the person enough time to make the adjustable changes. We want the change to occur immediately. If you're used to doing something for a certain amount of time, you may not even be aware that you're doing certain things until the person brings it to your attention. They bring it to your attention, then it's on you to make the necessary adjustments. But the person also has to give the person enough time in order to make adjustments.
You ain't giving up them goddamn cheeks. Stop this shit. Stop this shit. You know you ain't giving up them goddamn cheeks.
How do you figure that I've been married 20 years if I ain't giving up cheeks? What are you talking about?
You're not talking about you.
I'm not talking about you.
Oh, well, he said you know you.
Damn.
You said you know you. I think you're talking about me.
Okay. God damn. God damn. Again, this is what we talking about. I mean, in the good Bible, I mean, in the wedding vows, it said to have and to hold. I'm to have you and to hold you. That means I'm going to have sex with you and to hold and spoon your ass afterwards, if that's what you want from me.
For richer, for poor, sickness,
all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, stop.
So
don't try to be
even
real.
in there,
But you're trying to change it. You're trying to change the situation, man. We're trying to change the situation. Look here, give up them goddamn cheeks. More than likely, that man won't go out and cheat on your ass. But see, y'all want us to negotiate when it comes to y'all feelings. You want me, and men will adjust. Men will adjust and they will adapt. But ladies, y'all not willing to adjust and adapt. Because first thing first, we don't mind correction. Y'all ladies can't stand correction. Y'all feel like we're trying to control you or manipulate you or to take over your whole world. And that's not even the case. We're just trying to get some goddamn cheeks on a consistent basis. Don't give me some on my birthday or on anniversary or maybe throw my ass some on Valentine's.
Can I just ask you a question for any of the men? For any of the men, I just want to ask you one question. Why go outside of the marriage, get the cheat,
let her respond. Okay.
Okay, I promise, and I'm gonna shut up. I ain't gonna say nothing else until one of y'all give me permission. What I was gonna
let her respond. She want to respond to something.
Listen,
Mistaken. She want to respond. Hold that question.
Okay.
Hold that question real quick, Ms.
Right.
Paradise.
Asking a question is going to move them to another topic and divert it to another conversation. I just wanted to add to this point is saying, hey, even in the Bible, when you're talking about you can't apply these things one way. I'm not for cheating, right? I'm not for cheating at all. And I'm not trying to find a way for a man to justify cheating in what I'm about to say. But to try and hone in on the adultery, but you're not acknowledging that the Bible says my bed is her bed and her is my bed, meaning that whatever it is that she want to do, I have to do it. Whatever it is that he want to do, I have to do it. So when you're not honoring that, you're already breaking your vow. And just to go straight to the cheating, it don't just start with one person going out to make the selfish decision. A relationship got two people in it. It takes two people to make it successful. It only takes one person to fail it, right? So to even weaponize why he's going out to do with something that he's doing to try to make him feel bad or this emotional guilt, what women are not talking about is emotional cheating. The fact that you're even vulnerable enough to go sit with another man and discuss your whereabouts and your in and outs with him about what's happening in your marriage, you violate. You're wrong. We always talk about the insertion of intimacy. It don't just start with you laying down and fornicating with somebody. Some words should not be said. You know, gossiping, lying, filthy thoughts. All of these things are sins, even under the constitution of marriage. So to just go to straight saying adultery, oh, you shouldn't have go and had sex. You should. Why are we just doing that? Because again, the Bible says his bed is my bed is his bed. So whatever he want to do, this is his body. We're one under God. It don't be, oh, my autonomy, this, that, and the third. I really don't like weaponizing the Bible when people make it convenient for them, talking about my husband, my wife, this, that, and the third, because at the end of the day, if you going to do what the Bible say, you got to honor the fact that sex is supposed to be had. That's how you stay consummated in the marriage. You have to have sex. That's what makes the marriage. All you have to do is simply pray together and have sex. The moment that you stop doing it and another person can enter the bed with them, you've broken your marriage yourself. So it is two people. The act itself, but the person who contributed by violating and breaking the contract, just like Klaus said.
Well, let me say this. Since it's 2023, why can't we outsource some ass like we do the yard work or fucking cooking and grocery shopping? Why can't we do that? Can we do that, ladies? Mistaken.
Hold on. Mistake. I promise.
You said you was gonna come back after I let her answer.
No, I'm coming back. I promise you.
Like we do everything else in 2020.
I want to go to Luis, and then we coming back to Mistaken. Yeah,
I'm risking my masculinity.
It's on you, Luis. Rest.
Man, we've been around the world 180 days and yeah. Holy shit. Yeah, man. I mean, look, cheating for some people, it's the accumulation of small advances being made that you stop to entertain, whether it's DMs, whether it's people on the streets, whether it's anything, you know what I'm saying? That amount, you know what I'm saying, starts to build a certain confidence and a certain arrogance in your mind over a period of time that you sometimes don't stop to check to make sure that, hey, look, you know, I appreciate it, but I'm married. Or I appreciate it, or I'm in a relationship. And, you know, it really does start in their head. For at least women, it does, right? And the reality is that all women are cheating because it's emotionally cheating, because you're telling stuff to your work husband. You know what I'm saying? The work husband, yeah, I'm telling you, everywhere I've worked, they have a work husband. I'm telling you, I see this go down every single day. And I'm like, yo, these people are like full-blown married.
And men didn't create that term.
Oh, man, like, I of course not. You know, so I just think that some people need to kind of come to grips that there's temptation everywhere. And I've talked about this, you know, on previous podcasts. Look, temptation is everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Everywhere you go, there's temptation when you leave the gym, you know, why do you think that they set up fast food restaurants and all that stuff outside of fitness centers and stuff? You're most vulnerable and you're most hungriest when you just finish an hour and a half of workout and you are hungry and you see that red sign and you're like, fuck, they have a great deal. I'm about to go over there and smack, right? You know what I'm saying? We drive on the highways, the speed limit is 55, but yet they sell you cars that do 120 because they know that the temptation to exceed the limitation is there. You know what I'm saying? That like, ooh, like it seems clear I'm gonna only, you know, go X amount of speed over the limit for only a few miles, and then I'm gonna slow down. It's that thrill. A lot of people are always kind of seeking thrill in their life, especially when they're in their love life. There's a dry spell or dry season. You know what I'm saying? They're like, oh, I won't take it too far. But sometimes some people get into situations that they get into so deep that they forgot how the whole thing started. And then when they get confronted about it, they're like, oh, this and that. It was nothing, you know what I'm saying? He's just a friend, blah, 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 and all this and that. Not realizing that you entertained and you allowed that door to be unlocked. You didn't open it, but you left it unlocked. And that allowed other people to come in. You know what I'm saying? For men, it's always just the physical, really. You know what I'm saying? But it takes a whole lot to kind of to build that up. You know, not like compared to the access that a lot of women have. So, I mean, cheating, it looks very different on both sides, but we have to understand that there are a lot of, there is a lot of temptation everywhere, even on our phones. Our phone is our biggest cheater. You know what I'm saying? We have Instagram and social media readily available. People who are readily available to send you message, unlike before. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that these are things that people don't take and equate. And if you really think that your relationship is strong, sit in front of all of us and exchange your phone number. Exchange your telephone with your partner and let them go through your messages, your call log, and your back channel. And then we'll see, you know what I'm saying, who's faithful or not.
I'm mistaken. You got that? I know you wrote it down now. You on mute.
Okay, it's just two things that I'm gonna address, and then I'll let y'all speak, and I'm gonna shut up for the rest of the show. I promise. First thing was one about what Paris was saying, bringing up the Bible. One of the things that the Bible really gives you a clear cut in terms of when you can divorce is when adultery occurs. Right. So, and I've read somewhere too, there's three. There's either abuse, adultery, or abandonment. So if you're getting abused, of course, it's not expected to stay. If if the person leaves, you're not married. I mean, a husband or wife is not there. So abandonment, and then adultery. It doesn't say if you're not getting the cheeks as often, then you can leave. It doesn't say those things. So obviously sex is an integral part of marriage, because it is about the bonding. So I do agree, it's not fair if a woman is withholding sex because she's mad or whatever. I agree, that's totally wrong. It is absolutely, it shouldn't be done. However, if she does it, it doesn't give the husband or the wife, because it could go both ways, the excuse to say, because I'm not getting what I want, because I'm not getting sex, then I can step outside of my marriage. Because at that point, then you give the other person the right to walk away from the marriage because of the adultery. That's what the Bible says. You can leave upon adultery. The other question I have, and especially for the men, I think you guys could speak to this, because I can't, I'm not a man. And somebody did say does the Bible say that? Yes, it says, what therefore God has joined together, let no man separate. And then it talks about, and I say unto you, whoever divorces his wife except for immorality and marries another commits adultery. So yes, it does say you can leave when you step outside of the marriage. the question that I have for the men is, what is the purpose of stepping outside of your marriage and cheating, but then staying married? I guess that's the part that I'm confused about. If your needs are not being met and you can have your needs met by somebody else, then why stay married? And don't use the excuse of the kids, like leave the kids out of that, because that still creates a whole different environment that impacts the kids too. So I just want to know that part, because I'm truly trying to understand that thought process.
The Bible
I'm gonna go
also
to
says
Clout.
men can have multiple wives.
Yeah. I think to answer what she was saying, I think that's a misinterpretation of what the Bible says. The Bible doesn't say that if you step out, you're giving them the option to cheat. The Bible says that by denying them your body, you're giving them option to cheat. It specifically says in the Bible. Yes, it does. It specifically, there's a passage.
Please
in the
give me
Bible.
that scripture.
Let me finish.
Find it for me, please.
There's a specific passage that says in the Bible that when you're married, you become one flesh, and husbands no longer own their body, and wives no longer own their body, because your body now belongs to your spouse. There's also a passage in the Bible that even tells men not to send their wife away, because by sending your wife away, you're opening her up to adultery. So when the Bible talks about it, the Bible even says that lusting after a person in your mind is adultery, right? So if we're using all of those examples, by you denying your husband your body, you have broken your covenant. That's what I'm trying to say. So what you're doing is you want to punish the person who responds, and not punish the person who's actually broken the marriage. By denying your husband your body, that's literally what you've done. You've drawn a line between you and him.
Please point me in the direction of that. And I'm not trying to be facetious. I promise. I don't even know what to type in. I don't know what to type in because I'm not familiar with that at all. So give me. I'll look it.
Google it and find it for you. But I mean, it's there. If you type in something along the lines of, a husband's body belongs to his wife and a wife's body belongs to her husband, you'll find the scripture.
No, I know that one. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the point that you said that when you deny the other person, then you can step out.
That's the example I'm using, because if you're married and your spouse's body, your body belongs to your spouse now. The moment that you have denied your spouse, your body, you have denied them their marital rights. By denying them their marital rights, you have violated your marriage. You have broken your covenant, because your covenant, part of your covenant is that your body belongs to your spouse and vice versa.
The verse is actually 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 14. Verse 4. The wife's body does not belong to her alone, but also to her husband. In the same way, the husband's body does not belong to him alone, but also to his wife. 1 Corinthians 7 and 5. Do not deprive each other except by mutual consent and for a time, so that you may devote yourselves to prayer. Then come together again, so that Satan will not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. Simply put, you're supposed to sleep with your husband when he wants to sleep with you, and you're supposed to consent to it. Unless you will be to have.
Now, no one has still read the verse that I'm saying that I need clarification on, outside of it saying adultery is the only reason for divorce.
That's exactly what we're saying here. Now, we all interpret the Bible a different way.
Fight it to the end, Fight it to the end.
No, I'm not, because it's clear. The Bible was clear.
Hold on, one at a time.
The reason the Bible is specifically clear. So you're saying in that regard is open for your interpretation. So y'all have to make sure that y'all on the same page.
I did not say that, Miss.
Because it's clear. The scripture does say adultery, that is the reason that you can leave and divorce. It says that. So that's why
what I said was the Bible can be left up to its own interpretation. We all know that you have to know the Lord for yourself. But
that's what I said. Both of y'all have to
hold on a second.
But that was the point. Both people have to be on the same accord of that interpretation. That's all I was saying.
Wait a moment. No, that's wrong, because you're supposed to be guided by your husband. I'm a person and I don't even like using the Bible, but using it as a weapon in this particular argument. And it literally is saying, do not deprive each other except by mutual consent and for a time, so that you may devote yourselves to prayer. you have to pray about that. If one person feels like they're tempted, then come together again so that Satan will not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. That's literally saying, don't be fooled by lust. Like, I get that we all misinterpret the Bible, and it's been written and manipulated, but at the end of the day, you're supposed to be honoring your husband, who is supposed to be honoring God. And if there is temptation present, y'all supposed to go pray about that first, and then y'all supposed to go reconsummate your marriage.
Got you. All right, so Hank, to answer Miss Taken's question, she was saying, why cheat and then stay in the marriage? What would be your response to that?
But you can't exclude the kids, because the kids are very important. A lot of men stay in the marriage because of the kids. So how could you even think about excluding your kids not be a good reason? That some marriages, that may be the only reason why they're staying. Some men are suffering because the betterment of the kids, because they know, if I leave my kids with this crazy ass woman, my kids don't stand a goddamn chance. So I'm gonna stay around as long as I can, or find some way to change the court laws in order to get custody of these goddamn kids to take care of my goddamn self.
Also, to create competition anxiety. If you got a wife and she's not sleeping with you for months, even though that's her duty, what it's probably going to make her more likely to want to sleep with you again when she knows you got options. Like, okay, well, if I don't got to wait on you to get, because she's doing that for power. She's doing that to have leverage. So when she realizes she no longer has leverage, I bet you it stops real fast. Simple
and
as
then
that.
it's crazy because that's just in the Bible, which I had a Quran too. And in the event in the Quran, if the man is not in his purpose, he's not in his duty, he's supposed to deny his wife sex. So if for us to even do it in Christianity, right, you're supposed to have mutual consent amongst the two of you, but that's only due to some form of conflict that has been presented. You're supposed to keep God in the midst of everything. So to weaponize God when it's beneficial to you, that's that old Christian thing of, you only feel like the Bible is a one-edged sword, and it's a double-edged sword. It goes both ways. Men have a duty and an honor under the Bible. Women have a duty and an honor under the Bible. But honestly, when a man is not in his focus, he's not in his duty, he's not on his actual rocker. The only time a woman is not even supposed to sleep with her husband is when she's menstruating. You're supposed to go to a whole nother room because your body's purifying itself. But we don't even do that. So you can't sit here and weaponize sex when you get ready, because by that rule alone, weaponizing sex is emotional abuse. If we just talking about regular sex, it's emotional abuse. And then furthermore, you're disobeying your husband. You honoring the Bible, you're supposed to listen to whatever he say. Whatever he say, go.
Just to go back to the basic part of the question, how cheating starts, my point of view on that is, it depends on the individual, where they're at in their life, what their experiences, because some people feel they get married because they have to, when they're not ready. I know a lot of people that got married because they got someone pregnant, so in those type of instances where somebody feels like they were forced into marriage, whether it be because someone was pregnant or their family, what's going to happen is they're going to start to think, if they're not living for themselves, they're going to think eventually they're going to fight against that, but it starts, I think, with lack of communication and communicating your true feelings. If you feel like somebody's withholding sex from you and you're not communicating that, and you're just building a bunch of resentment, other factors are going to come into the play. I've never been married, but even in relationships, I've reached back out to exes that I knew communicated well, or I felt safe communicating what I was going through instead of the person I was actually with. I was guilty of that. And then I had so much resentment for the current person I was with that I would let them in on me having those communications, trying to think that they would step it up so that I could communicate with them, so it's a number of reasons that people step out. To answer your question, mistaken in terms of why would someone stay, I mean, there are mistakes. Your name, mistake. Again, people make mistakes. you know, it wasn't intentional. I mean, you do have people that have the intent to cheat. They're sitting there like, oh, the minute something come across my desk, I'm cheating for whatever reason. Then you have people that just got caught in the moment, as y'all was, you know, speaking to the Bible, too much time apart, you know, letting those other factors into the equation. Somebody was saying all the right things. You were feeling some type of way, and it was a mistake. I don't think you should break down your entire marriage for a mistake. Now, somebody is habitual, if somebody is, you know, continuously doing this, continuously breaking the covenant to where now you're sharing your covenant with Keisha, you know, Pamela, Renee, all the people that LL Cool J named in the Round the Way Girl video. If you sharing a marriage with all those people, then you need to get the hell out of there, because that's not a marriage no more. You know what I mean? But
and there's other ways to violate your marriage too, right? Because it's supposed to be only two people. So when you do something and you overstep your other partner and you let your child do something that your partner say not do, you overstepped your marriage. You literally disobeyed God. And then when you even do something so simple as allow your parents to integrate your marriage, we always look at the sex as the furthest thing for immorality in regards to it, when there are so many other ways that we are sinning and the marriage is being unlawful and the marriage is being tainted, that we don't realize how much you should be including prayer and what these vows actually stand for. It don't go to I'm an individual. No, you not no individual. You not thinking as one person by yourself. No, should you know how? Yes, but it's always in the image of your partner and in your spouse. And for people who are married, you know, I would think that some of y'all would need to know this.
Yeah, I agree with what you said, Paris, and I think unfortunately the word cheating here is like a bad word, right? Because we're talking about how cheating starts, but cheating has a connotation that only talks about like someone stepping out sexually, like someone physically cheating, right? But what we're really talking about here is unfaithfulness and infidelity, and like, so when we're talking about unfaithfulness and how infidelity starts, that starts when the faithfulness in your relationship stops. That starts when you guys stop functioning with fidelity. And how does that happen? One of the main ways to stop the fidelity of your relation is to stop connecting on a sexual level, to stop having sexual intimacy. Sexual intimacy is one of the only things that makes a marriage different than any other relationship, so to speak. You know, you don't have that same sexual intimacy with your friends and exclusivity. So you don't have sexual intimacy and exclusivity with your friends. You don't have that with just somebody you're dating. You have that with your spouse. So the moment that someone who's requiring you to be a part of this motion for us to have fidelity and faithfulness, if you're not holding up your end of the bargain, you're being unfaithful. You're practicing infidelity, and you're the cause of this relationship. You're the cause of cheating, because cheating is a byproduct of infidelity, and it's a byproduct of unfaithfulness. It's not the cause of it.
all right, so we are about to wrap this up. Do y'all have any closing statements? Let's see, Miss Taken like she holding back.
No, I told you I would be quiet for the rest of the time. I mean, people are gonna decide what is gonna work for them, and I agree that people use the Bible to manipulate a situation in the way that they see it. I'm just looking at what it says specifically. And if it says that specifically, there's no room for interpretation in regards to that specific thing. That's all I'm saying. Not when it's specific.
Everything is up for interpretation in the Bible. It's the most manipulated text in the world. So
not when it's part is specific.
Here's the thing.
Specific, like when it says not to withhold sex from your partner because your body no longer belongs to you. You mean specific like that?
No, that's specific. That's not room up for interpretation. Absolutely not. What I'm referring to, y'all keep reading those texts. When I asked a specific question, I said, what does it say? And where in the scripture does it say outside of adultery you can leave the marriage or you can go outside of your marriage? It does not say
nobody
that.
ever claimed that. What we're claiming right. Is that, no. What we're claiming is that withholding sex is adultery. No one.
It's not.
It is.
You know what adultery means? Adultery does not mean withholding sex. Please, somebody look up what the definition of adultery means. It's not that. All I'm saying is this, speaking, like I said, and I agree with what Jay was saying in terms of not walking away because you stepped outside. You should just walk. I totally actually agree with that. But that goes back to my original point. In marriage, you're not going to necessarily meet everybody's need 100% of the time. And when that happens, that doesn't excuse or give an excuse to walk away from the relationship. You don't. You'll be walking away from relationships for the rest of your life if that's the case. So even if a partner does step outside of their marriage, do I personally think that's an automatic reason that you should just walk out and leave and divorce? No, I don't. I do think you should give room for grace. Everybody wants grace, or wants grace extended to them until they're the one that have to extend the grace to others. So if somebody steps out on a marriage, do I think you should automatically get a divorce? No. But if you're religious, is that the reason that you can step out and get a divorce? Yes. But what I'm saying is, if you choose to stay in the marriage, knowing that your partner has stepped out, that's fine if you're getting to the crux of what occurred and finding out what led to that. So then you can make any adjustments that you need to prevent it from happening again. However, like Jay said, if it's habitual, at that point, you're showing that you don't want to be in a marriage. So at that point, let it go. You're not doing it for, when you're saying that you're doing it for the kids, if that's going to create angst amongst the husband and wife, if it's going to create trust issues between a husband and wife, you're going to see a breakdown in all other areas from that. If you're just staying for the kids, you're not raising them in an environment that's healthy. So that's going to impact them as well.
Mistake. You don't think there's going to be some trust issues when you constantly turning me down for giving you ass? You don't think in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, are you getting some ass from somebody else? Why are you not giving me no intimacy? What's the issue? You don't think that's going
the issue? Exactly. You take time to talk about that. What is the intimacy issue? Why are we not having sex? What is going on? That's the thing. That's where the communication part comes in. So if you do have a trust issue, you need to bring it to her. And if she can't address it, then y'all go ahead and y'all get counseling or what have you, so you can explore that. Communication is the key. If your response to every time something happens is to step outside of your marriage or relationship to resolve it, you're not going to have a marriage. You're not.
You think men are just willy-nilly just going out there, stepping outside, with even out having a conversation? You think most men are not having no conversation at all? They just say, "Fuck it, I'm not getting no ass." That's not how we move in. Exactly. Most of the time, we bring it up to you over. A whole year we went without sex. We done brought it over every month. Hey, baby, can I get some sex? No, my head hurts. No, I'm tired. I'm on my menstrual. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. We're having a conversation. We're constantly reminding you that we do want sex when I'm asking for it. But yet then I'm talking to you about, hey, well, why ain't we being more intimate? We're having a conversation, yet they falling on deaf ears. Or you'll start to do it, and then all of a sudden you fall back into your norm and to not give me sex, but on my birthday, Valentine's, and Christmas.
I will say this. I wish more women who actually had healthier marriages stop trying to weaponize their ring when you having the same problems that we have and we able to escape without it. And when you sit down and you talking about what the value of marriage actually is, and you can remove your religion from why you're honoring your marriage and actually saying, I'm here because I made a conscious decision to be here, and this is a relationship I chose to be in, and I'm working towards it because I wanted to keep it together. Because what we fail to realize is everybody ain't practicing your religion, and that's coming up from a person who grew as a Christian. So the only time you can weaponize your marriage and say why you're doing those things is in the basis of religion, and then try to make other women feel not mistaken, but try to make other women feel bad because they don't have no ring. I do not feel bad for consciously knowing when I do it, I'm gonna do it one time. I won't be having all of these issues. I won't be having all of these unlearned lessons that you guys are constantly complaining about, because you guys are the same ones telling us now I'm a single woman in a marriage. I don't want those problems. And I also don't want them at the basis of your main issue with your man is cheating. more married women need to start talking about what the positive are and how they contribute to their marriage instead of trying to make other women feel like they're less than because they're not married. Because I promise you, we're dealing with the same BS. I get the same things out of a man that you can get out of him, married or not.
Any closing remarks, Luis or Clout?
Yeah, I do have some closing remarks. I just want to make it clear because I know it could get a little confusing. I am in no way saying that cheating is okay or healthy or good for a relationship in any way. All I'm trying to emphasize is that when a spouse withholds sex from their spouse, that to me also constitutes infidelity, unfaithfulness, cheating. To me, it's all the same thing. Now, the best way to avoid cheating in general is if you're not ready to commit in that way, don't be in a relationship with nobody. Don't make nobody no promises that you can't keep. But if you are making the commitment and the promise to be someone's spouse, then as much as it's his responsibility to not go out there and get it somewhere else, it is just as much your responsibility to make sure he doesn't go out there and get it from someone else by making sure that you're readily available. That's all.
Luis, you good? Any closing remarks?
I'm good. I mean, I think everybody, beat this dead horse to oblivion at this point. But yeah, man, stay faithful out there or stay single.
Stay dangerous. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all being with us. You said you got something else?
No, I just said great conversation.
Oh, yeah. Appreciate y'all, man.
We're going to need to bring out the boxing gloves out for this one.
Ladies, just give up them cheeks. Give up them cheeks.
Bust it open, ladies.
Man
needs it.
Another
day keeps the demons away.
I just have a question for the guys, and then I promise we can shut it down. Well, because I know Cloud has said about the emotional cheating and stuff like that. For men, are you more likely to walk away if your spouse or mate emotionally cheats or physically cheats?
More likely to physically, because I feel like most women emotionally cheat regularly anyway. So I feel like physically cheated is the one that's going to be a little bit more stressful.
Because the mental has already been there. Like I think women are like social butterflies who like to kind of have conversations with a lot of different people and share thoughts and feelings and stuff like that. And if you get them on the right day, and you get a listening ear, they'll pretty much tell you a whole lot. But I think that the physical tape kind of transcends that, because I already understand the nature of how most women move. I think once you got to the physical, that's been a conscious decision that you got here. You didn't wake up, slip and tripped and landed on a dick. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think there's a lot of effort that goes behind that. No pun intended.
And by the way, just to throw it out there, we talk so much about men's infidelity when it's literally a 0.02% difference. Women cheat at the same rate men do. Literally. Like, when we sit here saying this, the real issue is that we don't want them to leave. And when we're saying we want them to leave us, no, we don't. No, we don't. A lot of times where we're sitting there saying, he cheated on me, he could have just left. Most women are not blindsided by being cheated on. You know your man. You know when something's changed with him. You know when something's off with him. You know when you guys are having problems. It's accountability for both parties in the relationship. That's why most women will have that innate feeling and they want to get the evidence and they still don't leave. But it shows that women typically go back over 70% of the time. Men typically quit over 80% of the time after they have been cheated on. But women still go back and accept it. But the reality is we're cheating at the same rate. Nobody's cheating no more than the other person. Infidelity is a thing on both ends.
I agree. Go ahead and finish answering the question, guys, about whether you would be more likely to leave for the physical or emotional cheating.
I think we all did. Everybody Oh, my fault. Hank, did you answer? Emotionally or
No.
physically?
Look, I agree with what Cloud just said. I mean, most time women are emotional cheating already, either through their phones or through their friend groups that they hang out with when they go on these girl trips and do these little things. So most men already accept that already. But when it goes to the point where you all of a sudden going out there sleeping with another man, that just takes the cake for a man, and he's done. So I agree. It's more the physical.
Mm-hmm.
Also, somebody in the comments, Will, said something that I thought was impeccable. He said that sometimes that emotional cheating is why she's not giving up the cheeks. And nobody wants to talk about that. Like, she's emotionally cheating already. And that's why she's not giving up the cheeks. But the moment he steps out to get some cheeks, now it's like, oh my God, you've broken us. Like, what are we even talking about here?
Go ahead, Jay.
What? Oh no, I said
you said it
physically. Yeah, I said physically.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So we can't. Again, like I said, can we outsource? Are we allowed to outsource the cheats?
Well, it wouldn't be cheating at that point. It would be a conversation. Again, the Bible and the Quran says a man can have up to 4 wives if his wife permits. It's just literally, have you went and asked her, right? Because at that point, they wouldn't even be considered or constituted as wives. They would be concubines. And we know what concubines are.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
but I don't want multiple wives for those other reasons. I just want it for the cheeks in the moment. I don't want to make her my wife and I got to take care of her. I just want to come over and lay the meat and get the fuck out.
Well,
Right.
again,
That's adultery.
No,
That's
that's one thing I wanted to address.
Take care of your goddamn business, and I don't got to go get some straight cheeks.
If he's
let me
posing
just
a
address
question
that
and saying he's
definition.
outsourcing, that if he's posing a question and his partner is there and he's saying outsourcing, his partner agrees, his wife agrees, right?
Oh yeah, that's not adultery. That's polygamy.
Well,
Yeah.
it's not polygamy either, because polygamy would be you going into the relationship and trying to curate another relationship. What he is asking is, can he just go have sex with other women? And if his wife agrees and says he can go have sex with other women, that's not him saying, I want to be in a relationship with her. That's simply saying she's only supplying one need and you don't.
First of all, too, we got to address adultery too, right? Because this is women love using adultery.
It's breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, Mike is crazy right now.
Yeah, it's breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, it sounds crazy.
It's like a robotic sound.
What about now?
It's still a little messed up. Yeah, what we fail to realize is that in the Bible, in the Quran is saying wife, which means that you have a obligation to them just as you do your first wife. It's saying wife. When you step outside of that's stepping outside of the covenant. I actually agree with if that's the lifestyle you want to leave, polygamy, that's cool. But everyone is in agreement under that rule. You know what I'm saying? So I don't see anything wrong with that. The issue that I have is when you've made a commitment to be monogamous in the relationship and you step outside of that. And I know people are making an argument about, well, if people are not maintaining their roles within that relationship, the expectation, then it gives you just cause to step outside of that. All I'm trying to say, for those of you who are not married and looking to get married, first and foremost, yes, respect the relationship by trying to perform your discussed roles or what have you to the best of your ability. But again, as a human, you also need to have the expectation that sometimes a person is going to fail you. They may not meet your 100% need every single day. And if that occurs, what is going to be your game plan when that happens? When you begin to look outside of your relationship or your marriage to find that answer, you're setting your marriage or relationship up for failure. That was the only point that I was getting at. If you justify why you step outside of your marriage, we do that in our head to make it easier for us to deal with what we know we're doing wrong. But it is what it is. Just work on what the underlying, try to identify the underlying issue before you get the result that you don't want. That's all I was trying to get at.
All right. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah,
So
any better?
we're gonna-
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
I
we're
had to
going
switch my
to
mic real
clout,
quick.
and then we're gonna wrap it up. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to provide a little context for the word adultery, because I think adultery is often thrown out there as though it means just stepping out on your marriage, and that's not what adultery means. Adultery is very specific. The only way adultery exists is if there is a married woman involved. So if a man sleeps with a married woman, they've committed adultery. If a married man sleeps with another married woman, they've committed adultery. Adultery isn't triggered by a married man stepping out with an unmarried woman. Adultery only applies when a married woman is in the mix. So that's where concubines came from, because men were completely, I mean, we're talking about biblically. Biblically, they were allowed to go and take other women, and those women became their concubines. It was the only time adultery applied is when a man touched another man's wife, or if a wife who was married to or betrothed to someone else slept with a man who was not her husband. So that needs to be understood.
All right. And with that said, we appreciate y'all being with us. We'll see y'all next Sunday for Lapeef-ing Sunday. I appreciate y'all. Paradise Paris, Hank in the Basement, Louise, Clout Jones, Mistaken. I appreciate y'all. See y'all next week.
All right, good people.